Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have a very special guest. Mr. Jacob Rosenberg is with us. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
Bro,
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming by.
Finally made it happen, dude.
Yeah, man.
Listen.
It's been a very long time. Maybe I was very intimidated to be here.
No.
What? We're all friends
We're
here.
all friends.
Something about spending that long talking about yourself, even though I can. I can. But something about putting your foot forward in that way felt a little bit daunting.
It's funny because a lot of people, they have that issue, but once it gets flowing, it's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have the opportunity to. And if they do an interview in a magazine, it's totally different, It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Van Asco was like one of your in your first 10 guests.
Yeah.
And I was coming back from a shoot and I was in my car and he called me and he's like, dude, I just did 9 Club. It was amazing. I was telling those guys they got to get you. So I was like, oh, that's how long it's
that was
been.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here.
We are.
Yeah,
But
we're here.
that's the thing, though, that I truly believe, because we've asked people, years ago who are finally coming around now, but it's like, it's the timing. Everything's timed. I truly believe that timing is everything. And it happens at the right time.
Yeah.
So we don't push anybody. We ask them if they're not ready, then that's cool. You know what I mean? We move on and we keep going, you know, and then...
I think you were just trying to wait for 200, try to get that right.
I mean, there's a double side to that. It's like 200, yes. And then I was hoping for...
Oh, trust me.
it's just-
Everybody wants Guy Mariano, Kareem Campbell.
Yeah.
We got Jake Rosenberg, bro.
Let's
Which
go.
is, man, the history that you have in skateboarding, which we're going to cover today, is like none other.
No doubt.
None other. You've been involved with so much monumental, legendary stuff that I'm excited to talk about today.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I hope our viewers and listeners are as well, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, bro.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
I'm down. Like my philosophy of being here is I'm in your hands, and let's go. Let's talk about all the stuff you guys want to talk about and unpack those moments and those stories. And I'm super grateful to have that history in it and to be able to lend some insight into those moments and to have those memories that aren't just in my head but are documented and a part of the visual history of skateboarding. I feel super fortunate.
Well, let's just jump into virtual reality, because that's where I pick up. We were talking about before the show. It's like that was. Listen, I started skating. It was like Blind Video Days was my first video I saw, but then really virtual reality was my Bible.
Yeah.
Like that was the video that we would sit at my friend's house. We would rewind it. We would slow-mo. We would duplicate the tapes. We would that was my shit. So I want to thank you in advance for being involved with that.
I as well.
I mean, you're up in there.
I know, but I had no idea I was going to be up in there. But that's the bad thing.
We'll talk about that
For
too.
sure.
Yes.
We'll talk about that
we
too.
will get into all that stuff for sure.
but,
But how's everything going right now? Everything's good?
Everything's great. Yeah, I mean, you're really asking me how things are going?
No, I just want you to say, everything's good.
No, I think the reality of this moment in time is super challenging for every single person I know. The way that I've stayed sane, I have integrated some of the breath work that my friend Andrew talked about, and I'm excited to see him on your show. And then I also got a Peloton, and I just go hard on my Peloton. And I feel like with that, paying attention to things physically has sort of helped me decompress the pressures that I think we all feel. And I'm an emotional person. I'm a sensitive person. I think a lot of people in skateboarding are, at least from our generation, who came up that way. And so that outlet allows me to say, I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Right.
I'm processing. I'm working through things. I feel fortunate to do the work that I do and to have my family and kind of just like have a North Star and keep moving.
Hell yeah, absolutely. And we're all going through the same thing, and I think having Andrew Huberman on the show just recently, it was an eye-opener for me as well. It was like I've integrated a lot of things, and it's just been a week. We're sitting down literally like a week after he was here, and I've literally integrated getting sun in my eyes first thing. I'm not picking up my phone right away. I'm literally jumping on the bike. I'm pedaling as fast as I can. I'm drinking water. And then about an hour later, drinking my little espresso, and drinking this other Athletic Greens. I was already drinking that before he came on. And then the element stuff, which is the salt and potassium and magnesium stuff. So I've really taken to what he had to say to heart and trying to implement stuff into it. And I feel better. I feel great. I feel like I have more energy.
Are you sleeping better?
You know what? I haven't noticed. I sleep like a rock anyway. I am a late guy. I'll go to bed really late, but I haven't noticed too much sleep. I have noticed, though, sometimes I don't need a nap.
Yeah.
This is just a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't need a nap. There's been a couple of days where I'm like, whoa, I didn't take a nap today.
My naps are usually related to my diet. And it's like at certain times of day when I eat, I'll get lethargic. So if I have a long day of work in front of me, I eat a certain style. But those tools that Andrew's doing, it's so amazing to see him have such an impact in such a short period of time since he decided to sort of put his voice out there in that way, which is beautiful to see, from seeing him as a young man to a really substantial human being today. It works.
Totally.
And the trick is you got to find it and he's very firm about this. You got to find your own way in. You got to find the elements, If keto works for you, great. But some of those designer things don't work. So you got to kind of test what works for you.
And that was the problem for me is you hear so many things and so many people try to tell you and this, and you Google stuff and, hearing it from the horse's mouth, a neuroscientist on what can affect your brain and your mood and even depression to suicide it's highly inducive of sleep patterns and stuff like that. So I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I've yet to try the sleep stuff that he recommended. He hasn't given me the list again yet.
And the yoga nidra thing, I think it's important to say some of these things out loud because they are tools that work. There's like a 10-minute thing that he suggested for me early on, and it's like a relaxation exercise that you go through, and you're basically training your body to fall asleep more efficiently and to kind of get nice little spurts of sleep and then be revitalized.
Okay.
And that stuff, like I really had trouble sleeping early in the pandemic, and then I started to do the yoga nidra, and actually me, Mike, and Andrew were on the phone doing breath work together, like as a motivational thing, just to kind of stay grounded and stay connected with each other. And then that changed my nervous system. Then I got a Peloton like a month later, and it was a wrap.
God, a 3-way call with a bunch of guys breathing. It's amazing. I'll have to get on the. I'll have to be the fourth one.
I mean, no problem. I think it's like
very calm.
Yeah, man. Like live in that reality that it makes you feel better.
Yeah, I love it.
Try it. Why not? Why not?
We'll talk about that. I can't wait to have Andrew back for a stop and chat. I think it'd
for
be
sure.
Fucking incredible. I didn't want him to leave,
rad,
man. It was so. It's just interesting talking to somebody on that level.
Yeah.
But then he's like comes down to your level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's so genuine and authentic. So you take his word for like, damn, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
You know
The
what I
sincerity.
mean? Yeah.
The fact that you feel a lived in, earned experience to him, and then just how brilliant he is to. I mean, he's reading, to work at that level, you have to have a certain type of brain, but you also have to have a certain type of brain that can articulate complex concepts in simple ways.
And he does
so when he feels like a homie,
and
you're like, what's up, dude? And he's like, he's like, Operation Ivy, or you're talking about punk music or all these things that he has like, deep connections to. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, well, let me just talk to you about this certain glyceride. And you're just like,
he can snap right out of it.
Wow.
It's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But enough about Huberman. Great episode. Go check it out if you haven't already. Fucking fascinating. But we're here today about Jacob Rosenberg and the life. So let's go back in time to where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Palo Alto, California, which obviously is I mean, that's a very notable place today, right?
Sure.
Sorry, my brain just went. But for me, I grew up in Palo Alto. Palo Alto is at the bottom of the San Francisco Bay Area, the bottom of the peninsula, right? So when you look at the bay and you see where the water is, at the bottom of all the water, and then you go a little bit inland is Palo Alto. And a little bit further south is going to be San Jose. And then, of course, 30 miles north is going to be San Francisco. And, my mom was from Montana. My dad was from Pittsburgh. I think it's relevant to my story that my parents were not sort of happy with their sort of family lives. When they looked at the way they were raised and they wanted to raise kids different. So they came to California, right? So, parents in the Bay Area in that in my generation were looking for change, and they were going to a place to be around other people who were interested in change, that were interested in looking at raising kids differently. So, the San Francisco Bay Area when I grew up was amazing. I mean, there's that whole, sort of hippie granola movement. The Grateful Dead played at Frost Amphitheater every year, at Stanford, and there's really strong artistic communities, museums, outdoor activities, and all of that. And I sort of feel super fortunate that I grew up there at that time. I mean, there's tons of kids that I grew up with who've gone on to do kind of great and amazing things. But at that time, it was like East Palo Alto had the highest murder capita in the United States, which was just across the train tracks. So there was kind of a little bit of the reality of the world. And then Palo Alto was, a fairly diverse city kind of in the middle of the Bay Area. And like everything in skateboarding, shops dictate where skateboarding lives and where skateboarding is born, right? Because if there's not a shop, then there's not really any place to go to stay connected to the culture. So there was a place called Palo Alto Sports Shop and Toy World that was in downtown Palo Alto. And a guy named Gary Hall was sort of the first main, guy who ran the skate shop that was in the back of the sporting goods store.
Okay.
And so the skate culture in Palo Alto came from Palo Alto Sports Shop and Toy World. They did demos in the middle of University Avenue. And if we go back a little bit, talking about this community that my parents were looking for, there was another couple in that community named Ron and Kathy Cooper. And Ron and Kathy Cooper had a son named Christian. And when I knew him, he just went by Chris. So Chris is 8 or 9 years older than me. And Chris was a skater. So in 1978, Chris had a big, fat, thick wooden board, and he put me as a 5-year-old on the front of his skateboard. And that was my first experience sort of, being around a skateboard. Right. And I have these photos of me as a 5-year-old kid and all these pads, and the board is literally like almost as tall as me. The cool part of the story is his name is Christian Cooper. He ended up doing tons of graphics for Deluxe. He does all those insane anti-hero graphics for Jeff Grosso. But that was like my guy growing up. And my first injury, I'm sitting on the front of his board. And you know how when you have a road that's closed off, there's like the circular holes that they put the poles in, and then so the pole was out of it. So I'm sitting on the front of the board. He's pushing his foot on the back behind me, and we hit that. I just go face first and knock my front tooth out as a 5-year-old. God. It was great. Like you're like first time.
It's a memory for you.
I feel like teeth and chins are always the first injuries.
Yeah.
That was my first, a chin.
Yeah.
You're totally not expecting it too. You're like, you don't think to put your hands down. You're just like,
oh yeah. You have no idea how to fall back then either. Yeah.
Reflexes, maybe Huberman. The reflexes aren't there yet when you're
they're not.
5 years old.
No,
so.
You're not expecting.
I mean, we learn to fall right in skating.
Sure.
But that was my first introduction to skateboarding was in the late 70s from Christian Cooper. On this insane deck.
I love that. And then what did you, from the skate shop, the little toy hobby shop, what did you remember going in and buying your first board?
Yeah, my first board was a blue Tony Hawk Skull. That would be probably summer of 86.
Okay.
I went to a middle school, and there were in the middle school in Palo Alto at that time, there were 2 schools. There was one school that was closer to downtown Palo Alto. There was one school that was sort of farther south. They merged those 2 middle schools when I was going to middle school. So again, I think this is what's fascinating about how things develop and percolate and how people meet each other. The skaters all went to the middle school that was close to downtown, which is close to where the skate spot was, the skate shop. So we all went to this middle school called JLS. And that's when I saw these skaters that were at the school, and they were cool, and I liked the way they dressed. And I was like, skateboarding. Yeah. Like, I mean, I had a flexible flyer after the Christian days, and I got into other sports and other things, but I was like, yeah, okay, this is cool. Like I felt a connection to it. And then go to Sport Shop. Christian is working at Sport Shop, right? So there's all these little touch points and all these little, signs that when you go back and look at things, you see that journey. But in the, you know, at that time you're like, oh yeah, well, Christian works there, so that's cool.
You're oblivious to it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I vividly remember like being in middle school, going and seeing, you know, Future Primitive, then Animal Chin comes out. There's like a jump ramp session at Pali High. I had my dad's camera, and there were these dudes that were just launching. and you know, it's like why there was that jump ramp session by the Hollywood Bowl, right? And Dylan, Mikey, a couple years, 10 years ago or so, 8 years ago. It's just, I mean, watching skaters on jump ramps is amazing. So I mean, you look at the Tommy Guerrero stuff and like, dude, it's just beautiful.
They're flying.
They're flying.
Yeah.
And there was one guy who was at that jam. He was a Vietnamese immigrant named Chudu No. And he was popping ollies off the launch ramp, popping ollies. Like, and yeah, that's like, usually you're floating off. He's like, bam. And I was just taking photos, like literally felt like.
What's that? How old were you? 13, 14?
Probably 14, 15 at that point.
I already have a camera.
My dad had a camera. So yeah, we just, I mean, that's a whole other thread, is just, we always had a Super 8 camera at home. We always had still camera. Okay. And my dad always documented photos on family vacations.
That's awesome.
And I was always shooting Super 8, you know, films of shit that was going on in my life.
Right. No audio, just the Super
8.
Right.
That's so
right.
sick.
And then I, you know, of course, if I'm going to this session where these, like, I know, like, yo, these guys from Sunnyvale are going to be there and they're sick. So I'm like, I mean, I have pictures of me doing like a stink bug air off the jump ramp. And then the rest of my photos are like dope photos of like other people, shitty dope photos of like other people just absolutely crushing it. And I remember I took those photos and I looked at them, and it was like, I had a photo of him like perfectly vertical. Not a good photo, but like his board is vertical and he's like already 3 feet off the ramp and he's skating like a pink Rob Roscop. And it's like, skateboarding is so fucking aesthetic, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, you see, like, he's wearing Air Jordans, he's a pink Rob Roscop, and he's like spracking ollies off a jump ramp, and he's like literally like 10 feet tall. You're like, fuck everybody else, this is my Superman. You know, like, you're just like, that's, you know, that's what I'm interested in.
Right.
And so then Animal Chin came out, and it was a fucking wrap.
That was it. That
it
did
was
it
just
for
like,
you.
yeah, it was just, okay, now we got to go to skate camp, you know?
Okay.
I feel that real shit.
You know,
those are the moments. I mean, I remember watching those videos specifically, and it was changing me, like, on how I thought, like, what I thought I would be doing, and it was skateboarding. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, it was crazy. You
Yeah.
know? And so it transformed me when you were watching those videos at that time.
The beautiful thing about those videos is I've watched them so much, and I think Stacy Peralta and Craig Stesick deserve like Smithsonian, you know, medals
No doubt.
for actually crafting cultural conversations. It's yes, it's skateboarding, but like Stacy and Craig knew what they were doing. They were image making.
Yeah.
But there were choices in there, like the fucking fingerboard thing in Future Primitive. Like, every kid was like, I want to have a. At that point, you made the
skits were so
the
forward
skits
thinking.
were amazing.
Forward thinking was so insane. I mean, we sing in the
bro,
fucking songs.
I mean,
and
you would-
shit. I'm a future primitive. And I skate to live. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's legit. That was legit.
He came in singing that song.
I mean, I got it in the car, Johnny Rat. But you emulated it, and they just did. The presentation was so phenomenal.
yeah.
And it was so alluring, you know. And I'll go there later about how that influenced Mike Ternasky with what he did eventually with 8th Street. But for me at that time, I was just like, okay, this is what I want to consume. And then it was, then you know, I'm like, okay, well, all right, you're gonna go and be a pro skater like that, because that's what you saw. Like, yeah, we'll just skate hard and be a pro skater. And what was super interesting as I reflect on my time is, I think if I'd gotten into skateboarding any earlier, I would have gotten out of it. Because I wasn't good.
Oh, okay.
You know, I could do early grabs like pretty well over a hip. I kickflip here and there. You know,
bugs.
Stink bug.
Yep.
On lock. Thank you.
Okay.
Could trampoline very well. But I just ultimately wasn't great. And so
You're talking about like before Future Primitive and all this stuff. If you
like
had skated earlier
correct.
than that,
Earlier
and
than
not
that.
seen that.
But if I'd been that enamored and had entered it then, I think I would have been out of it.
Right.
But what happened in that time is video cameras were born and self-documentation was born and Shackle Me Not was showcased. And it was like, oh, I don't have to be good. I can just have a camera and I can be a part of this.
There's other avenues.
Yeah. And
I mean, that's a young age to realize that.
Well,
Definitely.
I realize it looking back when I study what you know, I look at myself in a very endearing way of like, I really wanted to be liked.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
You're
a young kid.
Yeah, but I think all skaters do.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
really wanted to be
doubt.
seen, right? And I really wanted to be a part of something. And it was like, well, it wasn't good. Like, you know, I had all these other super creative friends. We had a kid in our crew, Dave Tullis, and he was taking photos too, and he was like super creative and just did all this artwork, and he made zines, and then I was contributing my photos to his zines, but he kind of flamed out. But I wasn't him. I wasn't as creative as him. Dude, he could do sick method airs off the jump ramp. I couldn't do that. But then it was like, well, but I can film and I can take photos, and then the eagerness. And as I look at it now, what I like to frame it as is skateboarding is like a continuum of contribution. And I saw that I could contribute to my small crew. And it was like, then it was like all bets are off. Like I'm just going to film and document and do all this stuff. We're recreating Animal Chin, going into the closet and coming out on some fucking ditch off of Highway 280. And, you know, we felt like we felt different. Yeah. Like, you know, when you're filming things and shooting them and capturing them, it does feel like important.
Right. Especially in your little crew, because this is something that you're like, oh man, little Jake's going to look back when he's 40 and look at these videos and stuff. That's kind of how I felt when we were making our little videos.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how that was the amalgam that happened, is like getting super sparked off of those PAL videos. Then all you're trying to do is find new videos.
Yeah.
Because at that point it was like, oh shit. And then Sick Boys came out and you're like, oh fuck, like this is, oh my God, it's all shot in Super 8. Like this is, you know, so at that point you're just hungry for all these things. And then skateboarding is like changing and growing and doing this thing. And all of a sudden with like Shackle Me Not, it makes room for people like me, even though I'm still 15, 14, you know, like to feel like you're a part of it. Right. Now, when you're 15, are you going up into SF, or are you just sticking around your little zone? So when I'm 15, kind of the seminal moments for me are going to skateboard camp summer of 1988 at Santa Clara University, which was just south of Palo Alto. So I'm 15 that summer, 1988. Don't own a video camera yet. Just have my dad's still camera. And then I had like a Ricoh point and shoot. And my friends, Dave Tullis, Nick Wright, like a bunch of these other kids, they're like, we're going to skate camp. Because they went to the San Luis Obispo skate camp the year before. Gotcha. So those skateboard camps to me were just extraordinary. Sure. I mean, fucking Neil Blender's a camp counselor. Like,
wow.
You know, like
it's fucking gnarly.
And then, by the way, like you're like, oh, you eat dinner, and then you just go to the vert ramp, and like Chris Miller's skating the vert ramp.
Yeah, wild,
mind blowing.
Yeah.
You know, and you're so you're at that point, I felt like everyone was like they were gods to us.
Absolutely.
The way vertical skating was, and just how rad it was just to watch, and just the colors and everything. It's like the wheels and the masonite. It was like. It was so stimulating.
Just that noise.
And then if you were on the deck, you would hear the wheels spinning when they do airs, which you never knew before.
Oh yeah.
You know, so you're like, oh. So I went to skateboard camp with my camera, and the camp director was Mike Ternasky.
No video camera.
No video camera.
Just a still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mike Ternasky was your camp counselor?
Mike Ternasky was the camp director.
Director.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he ran the YMCA skateboard camps with another guy named Bobby Goodsby.
Okay.
He did the Visalia, which was the OG. Then the next, and that was Uncle Wiggly, was Visalia. That's Tony Magnuson, Uncle Wiggly. Then they do San Luis Obispo in '87. Mike Carroll went to that San Luis Obispo camp. A lot of people went to that San Luis Obispo camp. There's like stories, Jesse Martin, all these guys just destroying the street course and the vert. I mean, it was a legendary thing. Dude, oh my God, I talked to someone who went to that skate camp back then. You know?
Sure. I have a feeling in this throughout the thing, when you say Mike, it's Mike Ternasky. When we say Mikey, it's Mikey Carroll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll say MT if it's Mike Ternasky or Mike. But thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
You're good, dude. You're good.
Thank you,
good.
bro. I just do my thing. You know what I'm saying?
So Mike was the director of that camp at Santa Clara, and I go to that skate camp. And again, I preface this all by saying, like, I was a kid who wanted to be liked. I did. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was insecure. I was not pudgy, but I was just a little doughy, and I just was like, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be accepted. And so I went to camp, and camp was always amazing for me because I was never around my social group that I was home with.
Beautiful. You could be a whole new person.
Exactly. Yep. And that's why summer camp, I think, is the most important thing for kids to experience.
Amazing. I never wanted to go.
Yeah. My parents sent me to a camp in the Sequoias when I was 10 years old. And my mom loves to tell the story that she dropped me off and I'm like crying, like, oh, don't leave me. And she goes to pick me up 2 weeks later and I'm hiding from her because I don't want to leave. And that camp changed my life.
I think that translates over to actually being an adult as well.
100%.
You know? Being around these new people, you can kind of be somebody, not else, but you could kind of elevate.
Well, they don't know you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the trick is doing the work to try to find out who you really are,
right?
So that you end up surrounding yourself with the people that help you be you.
Beautiful.
You know?
Beautiful.
Sure. So go to the skate camp, want to be like this young kid in the world, got my camera, I got black and white film, color film. I think Mike helped you understand the difference between those two, right? Playback. Sorry.
I still don't understand black and white and color. No.
So black and white is black and white. That's like black and white.
Oh, okay. That's color. Got it. Colors, color.
Exactly.
No color, black. Okay. Exactly. Got it.
So,
wow, you're very better than Mike Blayback could explain it.
Yeah. Wow.
Got him.
Yeah, for real.
So you got your cameras?
So I got my cameras and I go to the skate camp and I'm just like, now I'm like surrounded by all these pros and I'm just blown away. And I'm just taking photos of everyone and I was so excited and I'm a little bit of a troublemaker, a little, punk kid a little bit. And like every night you had to be in bed at a certain time. And if you weren't, you had to sweep the hallways of the dorm rooms that we were staying in. So the first night I swept the hallways. Second night, again. Swept the hallways.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Third night, swept the hallways.
What were you doing out there?
Yeah, I was up, I was talking, someone came by the room and they hear me, they're like, Jake, your time to sweep. So the fourth day, and at this point, like I'd met Mike and he was kind of, he was overseeing camp. And
by the way, at this point in time, what was Mike Ternasky doing?
Mike Ternasky had just started 8th Street.
And did you know who he was?
I did not know about 8th Street.
Got you.
And I did not know who like him as a person.
Okay.
You're just like, oh, hey everybody, I'm Mike Ternasky and we just started 8th Street Skateboard and I'm the director of this camp and it's like so if you have any problems, you can come and talk to me and it's like and he was the fucking best dude. Mm-hmm. Like cared about like if he talked to you, you know this. Mm-hmm. If he talked to you, he talked to you. If he listened to you, he listened to you. Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, I'm
it's hard to find these days.
Absolutely.
Fuck.
So the fourth morning, everyone's assembled for like the morning meeting where he's talking. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. Jake the janitor is going pro for sweeping.
Yeah.
And he had like a broom. He had the broom above his head.
In front of the whole
camp. And I get goosebumps when I tell that story because he saw me at a time where I desperately needed to be seen, to
I could, sorry to interrupt. I could almost take that as either way, right? Either you were really stoked or you were really fucked up by being called out, like for being a janitor.
He knew.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it was funny. Everyone was laughing, and then it was like, dude, fucking Jake the janitor, dude, Jake the janitor. Like I'd be on the street chorus, janitor.
Okay.
But
you were being recognized.
I was being recognized, and for me, who I was at that time, I wasn't salty about it at all.
Okay.
I was like, dude, the director of camp just turned me pro. Like I'm stoked.
I got my own broom.
Yeah.
You know. So
do you have the broom still?
No. I think the broom stayed at the broom stayed at the camp. I did get some other stuff from that. Jim Thiebaud gave me his experimental deck at that.
Yes.
At that.
Not surprised.
Yeah. But I'll get to that component.
Sure.
So I'm recognized and I feel like a part of something.
Yeah.
And it's really special. And then it's like after that, I'm like on the vert deck and talking to the pros, and Chris Ortiz was there, and Ortiz was like, he just went and shot photos with Eddie O'Gara at some pool, and he had his whole roll of slides. And he pulled out and he talked to me about how he was taking the photos. And I was like, I've been around a couple of photographers. There was Raging Waters was down there. There was a boomerang ramp that was in a couple of the Santa Cruz videos. They had a high air contest back in the day there, but it was like at a Raging Waters park facility. So there's a lot of photographers that were there, and a lot of pro skaters went through there. But I'd never really talked to a skateboard photographer to understand like how do you shoot skating. I'm just like literally like pointing, click, fucking hope I get lucky.
Did he know that you were into photography?
100%, because
Gotcha.
I'm like have my camera and I'm taking photos on the street course, and I'm on. Hey, can I come on the deck? Are you?
He's
like,
stoked that some kid is interested in his craft.
Yeah.
And Chris is. We all know Chris. Chris has
Great guy.
got an incredible heart of gold.
Yes.
Another guy who like really is there and present, and just a wonderful human. And he was like took me through it, and all of a sudden now I felt like, oh, this guy was kind of looking after me. This guy's kind of giving me pointers, and he's like, I saw these fisheye photos, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like I was just, again, stimulated by all the visual components to it. So I kind of end that first session of camp, and I'm super sparked. I'm just like, this is amazing. I kind of felt like I fit in. I felt a little special, which is super important.
100%.
And then I go back into Palo Alto, and I'm like, maybe now I'm taking a few more photos. And then I signed up for one more session. So I get a second session. I'm just super stoked.
Same year.
Go to that session. Carl Heineman's there, who ended up becoming the main graphics guy for Plan B, but Carl was street skater for H Street. I mean, Hensley, all these guys, dude. It was beautiful. And I go that second session, and that day it was one of the hottest days in the history of Santa Clara County. Like 107 degrees, which in Santa Clara County is pretty hot. And this is 1988. And I'm skating. I'd learned how to drop in. I couldn't do backside airs, but I could do like little like bonk off the coping and then kind of grab my board and but knee slide out, There was a small vert ramp that was there. It was like literally 8 feet tall, 6 foot transitions, 2 feet of vert. It was like stupid. I remember watching Rob Roskop skate that and being like, how are they skating this? I was skating on that, and I tried like a backside something, which I normally was skating the bigger vert ramp learning, and I just kind of fell wrong and I snapped my arm. Ooh. And all I could think about was, I don't want to go home. I was like, oh my God, like this is the second session. I'm like, I'm the kid I want to be. I don't want to go home.
And the second session too, there's all new people there.
Bro, Matt Hensley was there that
you're
time.
Not
Brian Lottie,
you're not Jake the janitor per se.
Yeah.
You're some
New Jake.
Well, you're new Jake almost.
Actually,
right?
no, I'm Jake the janitor. That did you hear about that kid that was cool, like
okay. So there was a
carried over.
Yeah,
but the counselor saw me and immediately were like, dude, what's up?
Okay.
Whereas all the new kids are like, who's this kid that knows these kids? Right. So you feel, it felt, like I was in there.
Sure.
So I go to the hospital. Carl Heineman takes me to the hospital. They wrap up my arm. My parents come, and it's me and my parents and Mike Ternasky. And my parents are like, well, what do we do? And Mike was like, well, if Jake just wants to hang out and just kind of hang out with me,
amazing,
he could stay.
Wow.
He doesn't have to skate. He could just kind of be with me. And it's my parents, bless them, they've always been unequivocally supportive of my ambitions in skateboarding at an early age. They're like, great. Now as a parent, I'm like, yeah.
Plus they want you out of the house.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. So,
That's true.
So I'm at the second session.
Yeah.
My arm's broken. I can't really skate. And the second session was when they're filming Shackle Me Not. Wow. And Dave Sloshbach is there with this like giant, looked like a boom box.
Okay.
But it was probably like 90 pounds. And there's a really big tape that goes in that boom box. And it's called, so that's a 3/4 inch deck recording deck, right? So it's this big mechanical thing, and there's a tether that goes to like a camera head. And that camera head looks just like what you would think a normal video camera looks like, right?
Well, the 3/4 inch was what they would use to edit the videos,
and
right?
they would shoot on it as well because
That's
it was
crazy.
the highest quality. So remember, when you're recording a signal onto magnetic tape, the more real estate you have on the tape, the higher the quality that you can put on the tape.
Okay.
So if you're shooting on 8mm, that's like that big. You're shooting on 3/4 inch, it's like that big.
So the camera is tethered to the base unit.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that signal goes from the camera to the base unit. When you press record, now it's on the tape.
Gotcha.
So they're filming Shackle Me Not with this fucking huge archaic thing. I mean, that's why skate videos were the way they were
At that time.
at that time. Because it wasn't possible to follow like with that. Right?
Yeah, right.
So what Mike did is he's like, hey, Jake, do you want to help us? It's like, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Here I am.
Yes, I would love to help you. So I'm trying to remember the movie. What's the movie where the kid like puts on his backpack and he like keeps dragging him down? It's not a Home Alone movie, but there's a movie where there's like a gag where a kid's like putting on his backpack and he keeps like spinning around in the circle because the backpack's so heavy. I throw
was
this
you.
3/4 inch deck on me and I'm like, I am going to die. And it was just
You got a 3/4 inch deck on your back.
over my shoulder like this, and we're filming the street.
Extension cord.
Extension cord goes to Sloshbach. So Dave Sloshbach has
to plug it in
camera.
also.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's
To the power outlet.
exactly. I'm not sure if it was self-powered
It has
with
to
batteries,
be-
but it
no,
probably was extension
Got
cord
it, yeah.
because
It
it
has
probably
to,
was
yeah,
drawing
sure.
that much power.
Sure.
I mean, it was a fucking car, like 5 car batteries.
So
but
here's little Jake the janitor with
Yeah.
a big old 3/4 inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we film like the street course section, the super
They
skate
put your
camp.
name in the credits.
So that's the deal. So so literally Christmas, I get Shackle Me Not. I put it in the VCR, watched the whole video, melted my fucking brain. That video, I could talk about that video for 5 hours.
Definitely.
Because it's doing things that hadn't been done in skateboarding and hadn't really kind of been done with videos.
No, not at all. Sidebar, let me say this, dude. Mike Ternasky was so forward thinking. I didn't know that, first and foremost, that he ran and was the director of those camps.
Yeah.
Because that's like,
Makes
you're
sense, right?
recruiting people as they come in. Like you see like every piece of talent. Like this dude, oh my God.
ding.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Mike Carroll went
Of course.
skate
Now seeing that and then knowing that now and then seeing the video now, if I were to see that, I'm like, dude, he recruited them all from the camps.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I mean, it's deeper than that.
Crazy.
Like Steve Douglas was a counselor at that camp. And when Mike started Plan B, Douglas was at New Deal. Like all these people that shaped the industry went through those skate camps.
It's insane.
But I get Shackle Me Not for Christmas.
Yep.
It was holiday season, holiday 88. I put it in, watch it all the way through to the end. Production assistants, Jake the janitor.
Yeah. Right.
And
They didn't even know your last name.
exactly. And like, Ryan Monahan was one of the counselors that kind of took a really great liking to me. And he would just always call me. He's like, "What's up, janitor? What's up, dude?" And it was like, so it stuck in that window of time. And everyone from that skate camp just knew me as Jake the janitor. And so again, the culmination, right? Like we're searching for ourselves at this time in our lives. So I go to skate camp and I end up, I am a part of it. I see like productions, whatever, dude. Like
They didn't even have to put your name in there.
by the way, that's the deal. That when you make the decision to do little things that most people say that stuff doesn't matter. It matters to somebody. And in my life, it's always been a thing. Like when someone asks you a question, answer them. You get a little note from somebody, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. Fucking 5 minutes. Now, if it turns into something else, then you say, hey, but really, why did Mike need to do that?
Right.
Yeah. So that
Roger just sent the photo over. Production assistant, Alan Kennedy, Matt Rancourt, Jake the janitor.
Amazing. Yeah, it was a wrap.
That's crazy. I mean, just the impression on a kid that age.
Absolutely.
Being in a video. Like if my name was at the end of virtual reality, could you imagine? Like it would be mind blowing.
How was it back home? Were your friends freaking out that
who fucking Jake the janitor was?
I mean, it was funny. Like Pete Thompson was at that same skate camp with me.
Amazing.
But what was interesting about that summer was it was a huge changing of the guards with my friends who skated. So I was going from middle school to high school, and those schools that came together split apart.
Again, they came together to split apart.
Because they split apart for high school. So they were just together for middle school.
Gotcha.
So now my high school was all new people. And so I remember going, like imagine I go to skate camp, I'm at this new high school. And it was just a whole new peer group, and then I was making new friends who skated, and then I was now using my dad's camera, taking more pictures, and then I ended up making one of my sort of lifelong friends, a guy named Addison Liu. Addison's parents had a video camera, so I just started filming Addison on his parents' camera.
What kind of camera?
It was a small Sony 8mm camera.
High 8?
High 8 would be the higher version of 8, right?
Oh, okay.
So Super 8 would be film, right? Super 8 film, and then 8mm would be video 8. Okay. So it was a video 8 camera. I believe Addison also worked at Palo Alto Sport Shop.
Oh.
So after that summer of skate camp, all these new people were working at Palo Alto Sport Shop. And then I eventually work at Palo Alto Sport Shop. And then I fall in with this crew of people who are at Palo Alto Sport Shop who are like a crew of homies who are making videos themselves. And there was this dude named Ray who had a VCR that allowed you to make an edit that didn't have a static in it, which is called a flying erase head.
Okay.
So the flying erase head allows you to, press record and it doesn't go.
That damn static.
Exactly.
Yeah. That damn static.
And Ray lived in Cupertino by Apple. There used to be these handrails right around the corner that were pretty dope back in the day when Apple was not the Apple it is today.
Sure.
And I remember going over to his house, and so now I've seen the production side of it. I see some people filming skating. Now my friend has this small camera, and then these guys are making their, they called it gleaming the Rubik's.
Okay. Sure.
So, and it's just a bunch of people skating to music, and it was super homegrown, but Ray edited it, and eventually he let me kind of tinker and edit some stuff because they were kind of working the video through segments. So I kind of was like, oh, okay. And again, it was people just saying, yeah, you're cool. You can hang out. You can film a little bit. Okay, we're going to be at Cubberley and do this and that. And, and you're learning how to be friends. You're learning how to be in a session, and it's not about you. And, you're learning when it's time for you to stop skating on the mini ramp because all you do is kick turn 20 times and everyone else does tricks.
That's true though. Real talk. You get self-conscious when you're really not, I mean, I was like that on mini ramps. I'd be like, I could only do a few things, and then you just like, okay, I'm gonna jump.
Yeah.
I watch footage of myself as a kid, and I'm just like, fucking get off the ramp. Like you're such a
but you got to try.
I know, but it's like at a certain point, I was like, I wasn't landing anything that I was like, what am I doing?
Right.
But anyway, so I made this new peer group of friends, and then it was 1989, and then 1989 is kind of a big transitional year for me. It's interesting how it all happened in a really short time, but it's
oh, man. So much stuff in the past happened so quickly. But back then feels like 8 years.
Oh yeah,
lifetime.
Absolutely. And what again? What I mentioned earlier, I would have phased out, like the fact that technology changed so quick, I had an in. I could learn shit every day, right? I could go and, I just learned about this flying erase head thing. Well, now I know I need to buy a flying erase head VCR if I want to make skate videos of my homies. So now I had a bar mitzvah in 1989, and I asked for a video camera for my bar mitzvah. And I got a Canon 8mm camera. I'd broken Addison's camera. I was following him on a tennis court and fell over and blew up.
You didn't have to buy it?
You know what? I was supposed to, and I feel very bad to this day. I never replaced the camera.
You got the same camera, but then just kept it.
I got a better camera.
Okay.
And I didn't replace the camera that I broke. That was his parents.
Listen, back then,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
It was super expensive.
yeah.
I felt awful. I felt awful. So
Wait a minute. Did they just have a normal lens, or did you get like
no,
one of
it
those
was
little fish
super
eye?
normal lens.
Okay.
Fish eyes, like that's another thing. Like it was, the fisheye stuff really isn't until 90, 91 when those lenses start to fit on those cameras.
Yeah, the vignetting and all that stuff.
Because if you look at the H Street videos, they're like putting crazy shit on the front of those lenses to kind of capture all that stuff, and it looks very specific.
Definitely.
So now, what was the term you said?
So-
I'm sorry, 89.
89
was a very transitional.
There's
year
an
for
89
you.
clicks, and then 90 is just
What happened
insane.
in 89?
So
Your bar
80
mitzvah, you got the
So
camera?
I get my bar mitzvah, I get the camera. Ryan Monahan, who again a very dear friend who always looked out for me, was living in Europe with a female skater named Stephanie Pearson. Stephanie was also amazing, just absolutely sweetheart, super supportive of me, always interested and curious in me, and like letting them come with me to sessions and travel if they were going up to a contest. Hey, Jake, you could come with us.
Amazing.
Like that's amazing. Like I'm a 15-year-old kid. They're like, yeah. And at that point, summer 89, I'm 16. So get the camera for my bar mitzvah. And Ryan's like, hey, there's this magazine in France and they need a photo of Stephanie. He's like, you should take it. And I'm like, okay. Like, all right. So I get in the car and I go to this vert ramp in Santa Cruz. I think I became friends with Chudu at that point. So I brought Chudu with me, the jump ramp skater from Pali High. And we go and I shoot some photos of Stephanie doing a frontside air on this vert ramp.
Are you using a certain camera at this point?
At this point, I'm using like my dad's camera with a zoom lens. It's probably like a 28, to 75 or something like that. Like
black and white or color?
Black and white.
Okay.
So
Just making sure.
take those photos and I send them off to France.
Did you get them developed, or you sent the roll?
Got it developed.
Okay.
Got a proof sheet.
Got you.
And then sent everything to them. And like, okay, here's all the photos I took of Stephanie that we needed for the interview. So what's crazy about that time was that the way you would communicate was through fax. And they're French, so they didn't really speak great English, but their English handwriting was extraordinary.
Oh, amazing.
The editor of the magazine was named Jeff Lubrano, and Jeff would write me these amazing, just sick fax letters. Dear Jacob, thank you. Photographs have been received, blah, blah, blah.
Where were they faxing these things to?
Well, my parents had their office for their small business in our backyard.
Okay.
So we had a little fax machine out back. So I'd get the fax. And
Jake, you got a fax.
I mean, by the way,
Who the
though,
fuck's Jake getting faxes? He's 16.
it snowballed.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I get that photo published in No Way magazine.
Which is the French magazine.
Yeah.
And that's your first.
That's like, my
Photo
first, that's my
published
first
in
anything.
Were you praying that it would be a cover?
No, because the photos were fucking terrible. They're so bad. They're so bad. I'm like leaning over the lip of the vert ramp. Like, I don't even know if I took the thing. It's like, they're not good photos. Like,
I thought the story was going to pivot right there and be like, it was on the cover.
Yeah.
No way.
They were good enough.
Yeah.
literally,
It was in
it was
there.
good enough. But what happened was I get paid for that.
How many euros?
I mean, I think I
was it
made
the-
like 12. I think I made like
Or was it the franc back then?
$1,200. No, they would wire money to my parents' bank
For
account.
one photo?
It was
Love
like
it.
$1,200?
Dang, that's
was-
a lot.
maybe I'm wrong.
At a time.
Maybe 600, but 600 was like 1,200.
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
So I get paid for it.
Okay.
And I was like, I really need that flying head VCR.
How much was the flying head?
It was probably $599,
Okay.
and I
Just
got
enough.
$600.
enough.
So I
Perfect.
got that VCR. Now my photos in some European magazine. I got my video camera for my bar mitzvah, and I'm like, you know what? I've seen Shakuminat. I've seen Hocus Pocus. I've seen the homies like homegrown skate videos.
I saw him. I helped make one of the videos.
I was like, I'm just gonna start making videos of all my friends in my town. So that was it. I made like, I think my first video, I called it Pure Skating.
Okay.
And it was like Chudu had a part, Addison had a part, all these, there were other kids were coming to the fold. Huberman was in the fold at that
Amazing.
point. Aaron Curry, this other young kid who was like Frankie Hill type protege kid. James Telch, also in our crew and always around. And then I would, start moving around to other contests and start filming people and then meeting people. But I'd make that video and we'd play it at Sports Shop. And I'm like, and then, in the spring of 1990, it all sort of cracked open.
How so?
A bunch of my friends started to get sponsored from the videos that we were making and submitting.
So you were making these videos not only for yourself, but then they would take those parts and send in sponsor me tapes.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Exactly. So I remember like I met Don Fisher from Vision because I sent a video of Addison in to Vision. And then eventually when I started filming Rick Abaseta and Javante, Fish is like, I need a photo of Javante for this Vision streetwear ad. And I'm like, again, like not, these are low level request stuff but I was like there and I was poised to be able to do it. So I had amassed all of this equipment and gear and I was just able to do it. I wasn't the best at it, but I was able to do it. And I was super passionate about it. So I just started making those videos and eventually Powell hosted this thing called the Am Jam. And the Am Jam was at the Powell factory. They had this outdoor street course and it was a bunch of obstacles and everyone that was sponsored by Powell would come and skate. And it was a way for like people from all over California to kind of come for a weekend and watch people skate.
Gotcha.
Particularly those Powell skaters. So I go down for the Am Jam. And this is, spring 1990 and Ban This had just come out. And of course, Guy Mariano, Gabriel Rodriguez, Rudy Johnson are like the coolest street skaters on earth.
Especially at that time. And,
Bro Deshay, Kareem. I mean, all these kids were there at the Am Jam. And I'm there. And now I've sold a few more photos to No Way magazine.
Okay.
Because he's like, hey,
staff photographer right here for No Way.
right. I mean, I'm sure I felt important about that, and then I just went to that contest. I had my gear and I just started shooting everyone at that contest.
When you say shooting at the contest, are you trying to get down are you in general population, general admission, or are you trying to get in the course?
I'm getting in the course.
Oh, okay.
To the extent that like Powell had their newsletter that they kind of remember those little books, the little Powell books, and there's like photos of me on the street course behind like Brandon Chapman like filming.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, got my BGPs there, but I was like, I'm up in there. But what happened was I was fucking relentless about filming these guys. And I was so connected to it. And I just filmed and filmed and filmed and shot photos and shot photos and shot photos and shot photos. And then I'd be like, oh, what's up, Jerron? Oh, dude, I just shot some sick photos of you. Give me your address, dude. Give me your phone number and I'll hit you. If I'm in LA, maybe I can shoot photos of you. Is that cool? And you'd be like, yeah, sure. No problem, dude. Here's my address. And then I would go home and I would edit all your footage and I'd print all your photos and I'd go, dude, it was so great to meet you. You're such a rad skater. And hey, if you're ever up in the Bay Area, this is my number.
You'd send them a little package?
I'd send them a package.
Wow. That's really nice of you, actually, man. That's
holy shit.
I mean, we're talking now,
yeah.
Like
those things add up.
Yeah.
I have some of my most cherished possessions. I've saved a lot of my stuff over the years. I like have a letter from Gabriel Rodriguez that's like,
I love that.
Amazing.
That just said, can't wait for you. Thank you so much for the photos. They're sick. You got to come film us for the new Powell video. Like, and that's the momentum that happened. Right. So 89 kind of crystallized getting the gear. 90 was like Am Jam. And then after the Am Jam was the Quartermaster Cup.
Yes.
Then now the Quartermaster. So now I'm like filming Frankie Hill and all those guys, Salman, who's in the Bay Area and like sponsored by Powell. And I'm now starting to stack more photos. And then with No Way magazine, they're starting to, well, who do you have access to? And of course there's that changing of the guard there, right? Where all of a sudden, like, people want to see photos of these kids. They didn't want to see photos of kids in the street. They were always that small, right? In the magazines at that point. And so, but I think, Jeff at No Way was like, dude, this kid's shooting these hot young kids who are like the next gen. And then that's when I started to make like $1,500 a month. Not a month, but an issue that I contributed to. Oh. And then I would do a little article.
No Way.
In No Way.
At this point in time, since you have the access to No Way, are you trying to submit your photos to any other magazines? Or
I did. You did? I did. And I got a wonderful letter back that said, your photos are rad. Keep shooting.
That was it.
Okay.
Who was that? Who was that?
Power Edge.
Edge.
Okay.
I was so intimidated to send photos to Thrasher or Transworld. Like, I knew I didn't take great photos. Like, I'm not a great photographer. I just am very passionate about being in there with them. I would say my filming, I really worked hard to start filming in a way that lended itself towards capturing the tricks right and capturing the energy of the skater when they're in front of the camera, which Mike really helped push me in that direction. But as a photographer, I would say that, like, any of those other photographers would have crushed any of my photo assignments.
Okay. Right.
And I was like grateful to have the assignment.
Sure.
So
you're at the Quartermasters.
So at the Quartermaster Cup, and then there's the Reno AM Finals in 1990, which is basically the end of summer in 1990. And I pitched that as an article for No Way magazine. So they pay to send me to Reno. Huberman comes with me on that trip.
Amazing.
Chris, that's the trip that Gabriel, left Powell for 101. Wow. We were like, I remember being in a casino with Chris Branagh, like, it was crazy. and again, it was one of those things. I would have, I'd be like, oh, I got to go to Reno. Well, it's like none of my friends. It's like, Andy, do you want to come to Reno? And like he could leave his house and go. So he's in the car. We're going to Reno together, And then we're at Reno, and it's like, I mean, I'm fucking maybe 17 at that. Yeah, just turned 17 at that point. My parents are letting me drive to Reno with another kid that's younger than me. We're staying at hotels, like at Circus, like, and then I'm just shooting all these photos. But of course now, like, I know Guy, Rudy, Gabriel. They know me from the Quartermaster Cup. They know me from all the photos that I've been sending. Oh, Javante's there. Oh, Mike Carroll's there. Oh, Mike Ternasky's there. Oh, there's all this like stuff that's happening. Oh, Rocco's there. Oh, Jeff Clint's there. Well, Jeff Clint was a counselor at skate camp.
God damn.
And then it's like, Jake the janitor.
Yes.
So they all anyone who was at that skate camp kind of had this invested interest in seeing this kid. Like, oh, look at him. He's working his way up the ranks.
Yeah, man.
That kind of solidified that relationship and connection with the sort of LA boys, as they're known. Mm-hmm. And then they left, they had left Powell at that point. Steve Douglas started New Deal. So Douglas was like, I got, people, I want you to film. Can you film Rick Ibiceta, and then eventually Guy and Rudy and Gabriel, who had always said, like, they wanted me to film for their next Powell video after Bandit. That's what they kept telling me. They were like, well, we're not on Pal anymore. We're on Blind. Do you want to come down to LA and film us for the Blind video? And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. And I'm 17.
Are you just writing letters to each other?
We're writing letters and calling on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And then it was like Christmas break at the end of 1990. And at this point, I'm like, I'm ready. I can come down. They're like, okay, cool. Come down. You'll stay at Rudy's.
How old? What's the age difference? Are you guys the same age?
Well, I think Rudy and I are the same age, and Gabriel. I think Guy's just a click younger than us.
Okay.
But we were all 17.
That's incredible.
Basically. But the thing to me that I go, like, I give my parents so much props, so many props, is I was 17 and a half years old, and they just saw a kid who was like
hyper focused,
just like, and they're just like, okay, and I'm like, I need to go to LA to film this thing. Like, come on. Okay, Jacob, you can go. And I'm driving alone
Oh,
from
to LA.
San Francisco to LA as a 17-and-a-half-year-old.
I'm sure at that point too, they know who you are. They know what you're,
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
you're some, like fuck up kid.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
They saw your passion.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
but
I mean, I don't know. You could have been drinking and smoking weed back then. I don't know.
No, I wasn't.
It sounded to me like you had your.
I was pretty. I mean, look,
You're focused.
I like I said, I was searching for being seen and being acknowledged and being affirmed. So I did my fair share of things to be a part of things.
Yeah.
But I've always known, like, okay, dude, you have this task in front of you.
Which is interesting to me because it seems like when those guys got on Blind, I mean, they had filmers, right? Didn't they have Sock and everybody back
No,
then?
not
yet.
no.
No, they had no filmers.
There's a weird Spike
Jones.
Spike
Yep.
is the filmer,
Okay.
and then you would film each other then.
Yes.
So if you had a camera. Now there is a filmer that filmed Rudy. And one of the things that I did is Rudy sent me all his raw footage, and I edited a video of Rudy for Rudy
Oh, wow.
during that summer before I went down for the Blind video. And I cut it to the Beatles, and I did like an interview with him for No Way. So there's like a little bit of voiceover over the beginning of it. And it's like this 12-minute video that eventually like got out. Like everyone like saw it and it's like, oh, you
How?
Because I would send a copy down to Rudy, and then I probably sent one to Guy and to Gabriel, and then they would all Paul Luna, not Paul Luna, that's with Jeremy Ray, but there's another friend in their group that like filmed a bunch of that stuff. Rudy posted one of those clips recently. He did that backside ollie on that curb, and he carves around backside and then does a 360 flip out, and it's like, huh.
I don't.
He just
remember
literally
seeing that.
ollies, boom, and he carves in a circle or a half circle, and then 360 flip on a big ass fucking PAL board.
Wow.
And so I kind of made that video. So, that was filmed by his friends, but those friends weren't really, I think, I don't know that they were going around all of LA and, and at that point Spike had, made Rubbish Heap. And so, Mark is really pushing on this new video. So Mark and Spike are filming, even Jason filming, I think, too. And then they're like, yeah, Jake, you got to come down. And at that point, it was like, I'd made the video for Rudy. I'd made a part of Gabriel that I sent him and all these photos that they have. So it was like,
God, it's so smart.
and then we just stay with them.
It's so smart.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. And then I'm at Kenter filming Mark Gonzalez, Jason Lee, Rudy Johnson, Guy Mariano, and Gabriel Rodriguez.
Could you imagine?
And I'm 17,
even today.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let alone back then.
It's like I sincerely trip out at that, because in that moment there was nothing to it other than like, Mom, Dad, I gotta, please, you gotta let me go. You gotta let me go down there. And it's like, okay, Jacob, but you have to do this and you have to do that.
Was that like you were missing school, or was it during a break?
It was during a break.
Oh, okay. So
it was during a break. Eventually, I dropped out of school. We'll get to that. But
So at this point in time, what are you filming for?
for the Blind video.
For the Blind video.
So it was like
video days.
Well,
No. Yeah.
Yeah, video days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would become video days. But it wasn't like, hey, Jacob, will you come film for video days?
No, for sure.
It was like,
for sure.
Jacob's going to come into town. And it's like, okay, we're just going to film.
Yeah, right.
And-
Right. So video days was the video. Okay. Gotcha.
And at the same time in the Bay Area, I'm shooting useless wooden toys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So, because Steve Douglas was a camp counselor at skate camp, and Steve was giving, so then it's just like, but again, I was talking about this with someone recently. Like when I went to Embarcadero, I'd never had a problem at Embarcadero. I don't ever remember having a problem at Embarcadero. That is not the story for 99.9% of the people.
Okay.
But that's because the first time I was there, I was filming someone who was supposed to be there. And the second time I was there, I was filming someone else that was supposed to be there. That's why I feel very indebted to someone like Gabriel, who literally said, I want you to come down and be with my crew and film my friends. And to guys like Rudy,
Right.
who put me in his house and kind of put up with the irritable qualities of me and Guy,
Sure.
who, and it's like those guys, they said, come on,
Sure.
come on, you can come down and do this. And then we're filming with the Gons.
At this point in time, have you met Rocco? Have you met, is there any point of talks of
there's
being hired? Or
it's not even,
this is a homie
It's not
thing?
even that. It's like, I've actually found my check from Blind in some of my thing. I think I got paid like $600 for the clips that ended up going into Video Days. And it was just like, okay, here's the deal. Like, come on down and film, and then give them the tape. Like at that point, I'm like getting paid from no way. I probably in a lot of the situation was just filming for free. Like, yeah. I mean, just here, like, there's the tapes. The gnarly thing that happened to me was I would take those trips, and I wasn't 18, so I back then you couldn't have a credit card if you weren't 18. You couldn't have a credit card, in general, unless you're like super. You were like realize that it didn't matter how old you were.
Sure.
But like I would be traveling, and if like I ever needed to stay at a hotel or something like that, it just wasn't possible. Like it just wasn't possible. So I remember sleeping in my car a few times, and it was just, that's what you did, right? That's skate. Like, we just got it. That's
no brainer.
Yeah.
Pull over.
Yeah.
Make
Make
it
it
work.
Make it work.
Yeah.
What was
so
it
you're
like?
also. Go ahead.
I was like, what was it like filming back then with that crew? Because like, obviously skating now, people go and they try a trick over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
It seemed like back then it was just like go out and see what happens, and then
I think it was the beginning of what you're talking about too.
Yeah.
Like that Kenter session has Jason Lee's back, kickflip backside 5-0 to tail, right? Where he goes boom, grinds, and then kind of boink.
You filmed that?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And recently it was like Jason's birthday maybe 5 years ago, and I went back to the tape and found all the raw footage, and there's just so much gold in there. Gosh. But he was trying that trick for a really long time. A really, really long time.
Wow.
Not like ridiculous, but he was like, I'm going to do this trick. Now, Guy and Rudy and Gabriel, they were trying other tricks at that session that they didn't land. Some amazing stuff. Like I think backside 50-50, big spin out, back into the bank.
Oh, wow.
Like good gnarly tricks. But I think then it was like you'd roll up, the skater, at that point, I wasn't envisioning the video. I was just, I'm here to film you.
Yeah.
I think when I got a little bit older, only a little bit, then I would like start to envision the video to be like maybe, Jerron, it'd be dope if you backs up 180, flip that. Like, like later that would happen. But at that time, it was just like, I'm just Mark Gonzalez. I'm just filming you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I think some of that stuff did take a long time. But there's also some sessions where dudes just do dope tricks really cleanly and quickly, and then you're on to the next spot.
Because even we were talking about when you were filming Carroll up at, you sent us this video of him, fakie tray front nose.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But he just tried it a couple times, and then he moved on, and he nollie flipped the three.
The three right after that. Yeah.
And you're just like, yo, that you just tried.
He got into it. Like,
tray flip, front nose, Eddie and B, and you just said,
blindside.
Let me nollie flip the big three. Instead.
And literally,
like, what?
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think specifically for virtual reality, there was, and it's been highly discussed, is there was this sense of having to one-up questionable and really do more tricks. So I think there's a lot of stuff, and I've gone through my raw tapes and I've seen it. There's a lot of stuff like, oh my God. Like people have no idea if he landed that. Like, like 5 years later, someone maybe was doing it. Because if you're doing a trick, you may feel it, and then you may just like not be at a spot that's the right spot for that trick. So then you're just not going to do it for a while. You're not going to, because it was so like, dude, skateboarding was such a fucking bust back then. It was, all that footage is like, we're there and then we're kicked out, and then we're kicked out. So I think you were sort of, there's that moment in time where you're kind of glad you get what you get before you get kicked out.
Sure. I just find it interesting, that balance of trying to get a trick for so long, but then there's other people in SF years later that are just kind of like a nonchalant, try this. Oh shit, that was crazy. I'm going to go try that.
Yeah.
Right.
No. And I'm sure they did try tricks for a long time, but there was a balance.
It's that's, we'll get there eventually. That's the long tail of like, it was bad. It's just hard as a filmer.
Yep.
And I'm here for the filmers, I'm here to say that like, it is hard to stay focused when someone's not landing something, and you may even see or think or feel why.
Right.
Like I it's arrogant for a filmer to say they know how to do a trick, but it's not untrue when you see it and you look at it and you can tell something needs to change.
100%.
But whether the skater is fluid enough to make that adjustment, like scoop your back foot higher, like just scoop your back foot higher and then, they landed. Well, I've never fucking done that trick, but like I could see that that's where you're getting stuck up.
Totally. You're there front row center.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, and then it gets hard. And then at that point, we're all so damn young that you're trying things infinitum. You're like, fuck this shit. Right? So now you're being patient to just film in the off chance that you catch the unicorn. And then you're not going to get the unicorn because you see how it's all going down. What you're going to get is,
Right. Okay, well, sorry for the detour, but let's go back. We'll go back to blind video days and submitting footage. Being in LA with those guys, even sleeping in your car. Yeah. Now, when that video kind of comes to a head and you see that, like, okay, wow, we're actually making a video. When did you realize that?
So I'm like, so again, that's all happening in LA. You're
going back and forth.
No.
Oh wait, you only came down once?
I came down twice.
Oh, okay.
At 90 at New Year's, and then a couple months in 91. And there's again, it's like the avalanche of things that happened for me at that time. It is hard to actually go through it all. But I go to LA, I film. I think I meet Spike there. I'm with Mark, Jason, Rudy, Guy. I give them my tapes. Like, here you guys go. Like, I think I was so enamored that I didn't even take my tapes home. Like, later I would keep my tapes and transfer what I knew was my good
just
shit.
Like, here you go, Guy. Here you go, Rudy.
Yeah. And then video days.
Could you imagine?
I mean, that was the
I'm sure they're stoked.
Well, yeah, I mean, because watching footage back then of yourself, like you pop in the tape and play it back,
I used to be in that video bin all the time watching that shit.
Yeah. At the park.
At the park, yeah.
Fuck that fucking, I slept.
Bro, I keep bringing it up, and I'm going to continue to bring it up. There's so much that has not been seen in those transfer tapes.
Well, so that's the sock era. Like, that's the sock era. That's the sock era, and that's the Tim Dowling era.
Yes.
And then when Aaron Meza moves to LA, but in this moment in time, and it's, I want to be like delicate framing myself in that moment. I happen to be very young, and I happen to be contributing to these what would become legendary videos.
100%.
There was no like design or forethought other than I just want to film and I want to submit my footage. But then when I see it in that like is a bona fide.
So you never knew that until you saw the video that's what it was?
I had no idea what footage of mine would be in it.
Okay.
Until I saw the video. And then, hey, and by the way, I was like, oh, that's rad. They gave me credit. Like, that wasn't a given, but I was like, oh, and by the way, they found a really weird, obscure thing in my footage too, which is when Gons bails that trick and he's wearing the Israel shirt and he looks up. And that's me on the camera shoving the camera in his face, which I, for better or for worse, did a lot.
So
what was your first time watching the video?
I was at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or it could have been at the skate shop.
Wow, that must have been wild.
I think we all agree that Mark Gonzalez is one of like the most incredible creative minds. I'm not going to categorize him to skateboarding because I think his mind is beyond that. But his way of expressing himself and seeing the world and seeing movement through skateboarding is unparalleled. Sure. Rodney's in that category. Yes. Neil Blender's in that category. Sure. But I think Mark and then that collaboration with Spike created this thing. And when you watched it, dude, and those dudes go off the cliff at the end and it has the drunk driving number at the end, you're just like, there are no rules.
I thought they all died.
Well, of course. Of course. I mean, I know
I think my parents even walked in and was like, "Oh, that's a shame. These skaters died." Like it's like
I remember just saying "Vaya con Dios" because it was at the end. Like I just said that phrase, but when I saw it, I was just like, "Wow!" Like Guy skating the Jackson 5. Fuck! Like what a good choice.
Yeah.
Mark skating to Jazz and that fucking backside ollie edit, that floater edit, and then and seeing
Jason Lee, Milk.
I mean, all of that stuff.
Did you film any of Jordan Richter's stuff?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. But I knew Jordan back then.
Yeah.
So after that, he lived at Danny's quite often when we were filming Questionable.
Nice. So you're just continuing on with your life. You're going down there. You went down there twice. You filmed those guys. You're back up in, Palo Alto area, doing that stuff, working on Useless Wooden.
Again, so at that point, so the LA trip, that's just, okay, still friends with Guy and Rudy. Okay. Like still staying in touch with them, sending photos to the magazine, because I'm still at that point still working for No Way. No Way becomes Anyway. So the Jeff left the publisher and then started Anyway.
Okay.
Some funny sidebar I will say. I found some faxes recently, and literally one of the faxes was like, Jake, I was expecting the photographs to be better. And I was like, me too.
Amazing.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. But it was, but still, I had access to things
right.
that they didn't have in that magazine. So how this lends itself to like Useless Wooden Toys, and then eventually Dogtown and Think and that experience in 91 is that I really just started using that relationship with the magazine to just fucking meet people and shoot them.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, like I knew Mikey, but I'm pretty sure I was like, oh, this kid Mike Carroll skates EMB, just turned pro. Can I do a pro spotlight on him? And they're like, yeah. So it's like, so now
for anyways.
For anyway, exactly. Yeah. So now I'm like, hey, Mike, how about we shoot a pro spotlight for this French magazine? And he's like, yeah, of course. But that's the entryway, right? That's how our sort of relationship starts.
Right.
It's not like me, some Grom thing. I'm like, no, I'll actually get you in this magazine.
Sure. Sure. But also you do have an in with those guys in LA too. So you do know, it's not like you're just some random now.
Exactly. And that was the Reno contest solidified that, right? Because everyone is at Reno. Rick Howard's at Reno. Costin's at Reno. Deerdick's at Reno. My feeling is that whole tidal wave of skaters that came in went through the NSA system in that 1990 year. And after kind of being sort of blessed by Guy and Rudy and Gabriel, when I'm around those other guys now, it's like, well, if they see them, me taking a photo with them, they're like, oh, you can take a photo with me.
Right.
And then anyone who's in the magazine that I take a photo of, I'm like, hey, Chris, what's your address? I'll send you a copy.
Yeah.
And then now you have your first mag because you're an AM and you're not going to be in Thrasher.
Right.
Maybe you will, but you're.
Oh, yeah.
My homie Aaron Curry, who gets the cover of No Way magazine in 1990. Mm-hmm. And he was, I don't even know if he was sponsored at that point.
Right.
But Jeff at No Way was like, that's a rad photo. And he put it on the cover. I had no idea that was going to be the cover of the magazine.
I love that.
Wow. No politics. It's
just like, yeah.
Dope shot. Let's put it out.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned also Think, Dogtown, Planet Earth, right?
Yeah. So imagine, there's this momentum that goes into the end of 1990 where I'm going to LA. I start filming all these guys for Useless Wooden Toys. Yeah. I'm filming Rick Ibiceta, Danny Sargent, Justin Gerard. I think I even filmed John Montesi when I was in LA with Guy and Rudy. I'm probably forgetting someone else.
Just thinking, I'm sitting here thinking you're in it.
Yeah.
You're filming everybody.
Yeah.
Who's anybody at the time.
All the other filmers that I was around at that time were like just kind of older dudes. And it was like a job.
Right.
Or it was like, Bryce was a rad filmer.
Bryce
Knights filmed a lot. He filmed a lot of Dogtown stuff, but also Bryce is like getting paid to shoot photos. So where's the priority?
Sure.
So for me, I'm like taking photos for No Way and Anyway, but then really like Steve Douglas is hiring me to film for the video. So now I'm filming video. So I think there's that again, like I am, and I don't want to claim anything other than to say I was very young and I was in the right position to be asked to film. And by the way, all those videos have tons of credits with tons of people who filmed those things. Like I wasn't the only person that had a nice little bonus credit in Video Days. Sure. There were other filmers there too. But I was a person who, for myself, I was like, I'm gonna go do this, right? So now I'm filming with Guy and Rudy, and my crew of skaters in Palo Alto is kind of blossoming. And there's this kid, Paul Zuanich, who lives near me, who goes to my school, and Paul's fucking dope. All right, I'm gonna make a video with Paul. So now I make a video of Paul, make a 3-minute video. And I was working at Palo Alto Sports Shop. This is 1990. I go down to ASR. So now I'm down at ASR, and Mike Ternasky is at ASR. Now Mike remembers me from skate camp. He's stayed in touch with me here and there. He's like, "What have you been up to?" You know, we're talking, and I was like, "Oh, I really want to give you this video of my friend Paul that I made. I think he's really dope." And Mike, and I'm like, I don't know if I specifically gave it to him for Planet Earth or for H Street, but at that point, Hocus Pocus, this is after Hocus Pocus. So you're going into not the new H Street video, which is 91. So in 90 you had, and 91 is the Life video, but you have Planet Earth and the Life video as the two kind of projects that H Street's working on, and not the new. And H Street's, as Danny shared, is like just fucking crazy bloated team. But I give this VHS tape of my friend Paul Zuanich. I give it to Mike. Fucking Paul's sponsored right away by Planet Earth. But I think Paul was so like thrown off by it that it happened so quick. Like I think he was afraid to call them to ask for boards or whatever. Paul gets a part in Now and Later, which is the Planet Earth video. Yeah. And then in the opening of the video, I was filming this gap at Gunn High School by my house. And I had a flower in my finger, and I'm just filming the flower, and I'm just spinning it, and I had a high shutter rate, so I just kind of converted that to slow motion. Well, I watch Now and Later, and the fucking opening of the video is this flower spinning around. So again, it's like, there's all this reinforcement and affirmation, and then Paul, now he's sponsored, and then he's in the Planet Earth video, and then I have a credit in the Planet Earth video. And now I'm going to San Francisco and filming Rick Avicetta, and Don Fisher needs a photo of Javante, so I take the photo of Javante, right? And it's an ad. Now that's like my first bona fide photo ever in like a main skate magazine was the Javante ad until Big Brother.
Okay.
And that
was a Planet Earth, right?
What's that?
Javante?
He was on Planet Earth at that time, but he was skating Vision Streetwears. Okay. And it's a backside lip slide at brown marble benches. Yes. Shot at night. And again, my buddy Addison was on Vision at that time, so that's how I knew Don and from the contest circuit and whatever. So 90 is like, shoot all this stuff for Douglas and New Deal, shooting all this stuff. Now the Planet Earth stuff happens. And then at that point, I think I get connected with Mikey, because when I see Ternasky, he's like, well, Mike Carroll's in San Francisco. You should really start filming him. We're going to turn him pro soon, if he wasn't already pro already. And it was like, okay, cool. And, Mike and Greg, Greg definitely became like an older brother type of guy for me in that moment in time. Again, everything happened really quickly, but it was like, if you knew Greg, if you know Greg, and if you knew him at that time, he was just incredibly welcoming. Right. And I think there's a handful of these people in skateboarding who have been they're like a beacon. And they really understood pain that humans go through. So there's an empathetic quality that they had, and they have a gravitational pull to them. And Greg Carroll was one of those guys, where I think you're a fucked up kid, you got some shit going on, Greg would like see you, and he wouldn't be like, hey man, let's talk about what's going on for you. But he'd be like, what's up, Jerron? Oh, that's dope. Oh, I'll put you on Flow on Venture. Yeah. That's facts. And like, and Mike Ternasky's the exact same way, right? So and now look, Mike and Greg had gnarly childhood. Mm-hmm. Mike Ternasky had a bit of a gnarly childhood. I had a bit of a gnarly childhood. And so there are these people that saw you and they just knew. And so I have this, Mike Ternasky guy who's kind of watching me now. He's seeing me. Now he's like, I mean, dude, when he put my shit in the Planet Earth video, I'm like, oh shit, I'm blessed now. Like, Jake the Janitor's one thing, but like now I got clips in this. Like, I'm like, okay. And then I'm, New Deal video, I got clips in there. So I'm like, okay, this is all happening. It's
happening.
And then it's like Greg, he was like, hey, bro, do you want to make a video together? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I want to make the venture video. It's like, okay, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm down. You know, so he's like, okay, here's everyone's sponsor me tapes. So he gave me all the sponsor me tapes for the venture video for everyone that was sponsored by Venture. We're talking Shiloh,
wow,
Greg Hunt. I mean, just like start naming it, right? You know,
because everybody was riding for Venture when
everyone,
first
but
came out.
and that's because Greg was the team manager for Venture, and Greg rode for Dogtown. So he's like, Jake, dude, let's make the Venture video. It's like, okay, so then now whoever we don't have a sponsor me of, I got to film them.
Okay.
So now I'm filming Spencer Fujimoto, Jason Adams, Saul Managa, Shawn Mandoli, Edward De Vera.
Wow.
Like everyone. And so now I'm canvassing the Bay like every day.
Damn.
I'm filming. Every weekend I'm filming. And now I'm like, no, so now Greg's coming over and I'm start editing this Venture video. And it was basically just like kind of as is, like sponsor me parts within my stuff in very crude with my flying erase head deck and kind of everything is put together. But this is like end of 1990 again into 91. And at a certain point, it's like this, we're not like, we just stop making it because Think starts happening. And Dogtown is about to go out of business. So at that point now, I'm sort of under the radar of High Speed Productions. They like know that I'm filming some of these kids. And Greg is sponsored by Dogtown, so I'm filming Greg. And High Speed is like, we got to sell off all of the assets for Dogtown. Oh, wow. Like we're shutting down Dogtown. And the way we're going to shut down Dogtown Skates is by making a video to kind of illuminate it. And then, you know, and then we're going to close the brand. Now, that's how I remember it.
Okay.
So I should have prefaced everything by saying the truth is out there. This is how I saw it.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear you.
So I worked for Red Dog, and the fucking Dogtown team was John Cardiel, Karma Toshiff, and Wade Spire,
Jesus.
and Bob Beck. And I'm like with Greg 24/7, and we're like, oh, we got to go to Lake of the Pines. We got to go film Cardiel. And this is when you knew of Cardiel if you were in the NSA contest circuit. But now we're like with Cardiel out in fucking nature. Like I saw that guy ollie the biggest gap I've ever seen ollied. Not to say to this day, but it was a loading dock behind a building. He towed in off a car and he 180'd it because you couldn't straight ollie it.
Oh, wow.
He had to get that little,
And the footage is at night, and I just didn't shoot it as well as I should have, but it was nighttime and he was doing it. And I remember he did it and I wanted to cry. And Greg was driving the car, towing him in. Like, so he does this trick and he lands it. And Greg's like I was like, dude, and it's that feeling that we've all had when you're with someone, when they do something where they pushed through something.
Sure.
And again, I go back, like, again, all of us have all these things beneath the surface that no one will ever know. But when you're together with the homies and it's like, and then there's that energy and that celebration and everyone just wanted him to land that trick.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted him to do it. And then he does it. And you're like, this is amazing. So it was just, so I think for me, it was like this, I now was like, Greg was kind of endorsing me. I'm now with these skaters who like, I just normally wouldn't have met, but now I'm filming them and I'm capturing them at a really unique moment in time, spending the day with Wade Spire, like skating fast and just and I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, go, you know?
Yeah.
And then Red Dog is like, all right, Jake, now you got to edit the video. So I'm like 17 years old in that, you know, my parents had their office in a little cottage in the back of our house. And I think at that point they had moved it out somewhere else. So that we had this little back editing area in the back of the house, and Red Dog and Greg would come down and I edited the Dogtown video.
Amazing.
You know, DTS, the video.
Damn.
It was so crude. I had a little title generator, right? So you would put that video, there was a way you could, put the video signal in that you were recording and then plug the title generator in, and then you would type out the title.
Wow.
And then when you recorded, that signal was on top of the video. So it was just super janky, like just crazy. But I edited that video. Like I was given permission and I didn't say no. And I was like, all right, here, Fausto, here is DTS the video. And I mean,
what'd they think?
To be honest with you, I don't remember what they thought. I just remember filming all the time, editing it, finishing it, and there was no premiere. They just like packaged the video like, okay, we got to sell a bunch of these videos, and then I think shortly after they kind of ceased to exist.
Got you.
That's kind of weird to think about. You're building this video knowing that it's not going to go
and I
after.
don't think it was anything like, I like Red Dog was damn good to me. I met his family down here in LA when I was down, and like, in no way, what am I saying? There was something, uncouth that was going on, but it was like, I really remember that the word was they're shutting it down and they got to move all this inventory. So we got to make a video of the team. Yeah. And maybe they were hoping if we make the video, we'll keep the team alive.
Because usually it's the opposite, right? You're trying to, keep it going. You're trying to keep something going. You make a video, sell stuff.
So that was my first like video that I made, and I remember, I didn't get to make too many choices, I think, with music on that, but I edited every part and put it all together, and then we finished it. And then at that exact same time, Reel starts up. Mm-hmm. So now I got to start. Now I'm filming Salman.
Yeah.
But now, Henry, all these other guys, Jim, and Jim again was a summer camp counselor at skateboard camp who changed my life. He's another person in this same category that understands the depth below.
Definitely.
And gives people the space to be themselves and to recognize them. And so with Reel, it was like Jeff Clint from Skate Camp, Jim from Skate Camp, and then I was already filming Salman, and I knew and had been filming a little bit with Henry, and then started filming him more. And then at the exact same time, Think starts, and Keith Cochran and Greg sort of, Dogtown's sort of done. Greg is now the team manager for Think and Venture. Keith Cochran runs Think. And they're like, well, Jake just did the Dogtown video. Now, Jake, you got to do the Think video. Yeah. And now all the Think skaters, well, those are all the other kids that I've been seeing that I'm around all the time.
Right.
And then that video was more like, I really could do what I felt was right for the video.
Mm-hmm. You had more control.
Yeah, like, oh, there's this dope rapper named Code Blue, the Bay. That time for music was fucking incredible. Like this is when the like Hyro tape, like, oh my God, dude. Three Shades of Rhythm, Code Blue.
You couldn't even like make a copy of it. They were like, dude, we can't make a copy. I'm like, fucking make me a fucking copy. Dude.
You're like,
what are you talking about?
No.
Yeah. I can't do it. That like someone's gonna find out.
Yeah.
It's
but
insane.
But on that video,
Dub's still holding a grudge.
I do, dude.
I feel you. I totally feel you because I remember, dude, you'd be in the cars with those guys and you're like, and like the tape would come out and you'd be like, dude, let me just hold that shit. I got a dub at the house. I can just copy it real quick. No one will ever know. Like, nah. It's like, nah.
So filming the Think video.
Yeah. So I go in and we just.
You had more control.
Yeah. It was, I just was like, we're putting rap music in this video. Mm-hmm, like that's what all we were listening to.
Sure.
So that video, I think, really accurately reflected my taste more at that time. Yeah. By the way, when I say taste, like I'm still a fucking 17-year-old kid. Like, I think maybe the Think video was probably right around, summer of 91, maybe.
That's so crazy to me that all these things are happening damn near in the same year.
Yeah.
And these videos, what were you filming for 8 months?
That's what it seemed like.
Not even
for the Think video?
Yeah.
3 months?
4 months? 4 months.
Dude, you're like, we're literally in the streets every day. Like, okay, we're good. Oh, we're good. And like, at that point, I had cut so many sponsor me things You like kind of know when you have enough footage.
Got you. Okay.
But like I didn't have a roadmap for how to make a skate video. I just watched hella shit and was like, and I made stuff and I got feedback like, oh, that was great. Yeah. But now at that point I'm like, okay, this part needs to be there was no thought to it. We did like an opening skit, you know. My friend Damon was in it, and like Keith Cochran was going to go execute him or something at the beginning, and like it was just like it was like some crime thing. I think the video.
Partners in Crime.
Partners in crime. Thank you, Roger.
Damn, three months. Huh?
Was 3 to 4. I mean, we there's probably tricks in there from the Venture video that we were filming earlier, right?
Sure.
But when we really started to go like, oh, we're doing this, it was a real short period of time.
Damn.
And then eventually Paul Zuwanich gets on Think.
Okay.
I will shout out a friend of mine who passed away a couple years ago. His name was Johnny Farr, and he was in our crew, and he was in the Dogtown video. Amazing. So all those things, I was always like, how can I kind of parlay to get one of my crew, someone in there to be a part of it?
At least you were looking out for everybody.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I mean, that to me to this day is super important. Yeah. I feel like the only reason I had the opportunities that I had is because someone made a decision that they didn't have to make at a certain point in time.
There you go. There you go.
So like the lesson of the day is take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like say yes when you
sound like a yes man very much back then. Like yes. Good answer.
Yes. Like
that's amazing though.
But by the way,
but it's opportunity, right?
Yeah.
It's opportunity knocks. It's like you're not going to just turn something down back then. Like
and
this
just
is
paying it forward, bro. Like
Yeah.
you care about what skateboarding is doing at that time. You're just like
Hell
pushing
yeah.
forward.
well, that's what I
Help
said.
that fellow skater.
Contributing.
Yeah.
I wanted, and at that point I knew I was contributing because I saw my name, I saw the videos I was making, I saw this thing, and you know, there's an ego side to that too. Like when you're 17 years old, you're doing things to inflate your ego.
Right.
You know, you're fucking growing into your own. I mean, I think I'll get there, but when I said no to a video, there was a reason.
Okay.
It wasn't great, but it was like, I got to a point where I was like, no, you know,
Right.
but that was much later. And there was,
later.
you know, there was after Mike Ternasky died.
And that's okay though too. It's also
Yeah, it is.
100%.
It is.
100%.
It is.
It's really important to actually do those things, to test what's on the other side. I think that's part of the thing too. When a lot of us find ourselves in a rhythm or a flow, and you know, I would get in this place when I'm much older, like when I was making Waiting for Lightning, I like didn't shave my beard. I'm like, no, I'm not going to shave it. Like a hockey player in the playoffs, you know. I got my playoff beard. And and if I shaved it, like what would have been different? Like, you know, like
your face.
You have super.
Your face would have been different.
You get stuck on these little moments. Where This is what's fucking holding. This is what's putting it all together.
And it's so hard to have conversations with people you care about when they're in those moments, and you can see it and they can't, and you just want to kind of pull them out and be like, dude, and not to bring it back there, but that's what that breath work does.
There you go.
It's the breath work rejiggers your neural pathways real quick, and you're like, oh, okay.
Now maybe you could see what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, take a
But-
step back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Think Video.
So Think Video, that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Think Video comes out. Plan B is just about to start, and I am filming Mike Carroll all the time.
I was just about to ask you because, you know, 8th Street's going on, this and that. You know Mike Ternasky, you know Carroll, you're starting to film with all these guys, and then Plan B starts.
Yeah.
I mean, that was crazy. That was huge.
It was the best.
And if you were there witnessing all this stuff.
For sure.
Like, what were you just wishing that they, like, oh my God, I need to be involved with this? Not at all. A video? Like, it needs to be a video project.
Like I swear to God, it was so, I had blinders on where I was like, I just need to film. I'm filming this. So then Mike Ternasky called me and was like, hey, Jake, do you mind filming Mikey? Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll film Mikey. Boom. Then I go film Mikey.
Didn't even say anything about questionable or nothing.
Nothing. I mean, nothing was even called that.
Doesn't even say anything about Plan B.
No, it just
was before.
And I actually think he didn't even tell me about Plan B. I think Mikey told me about Plan B.
Okay.
So like
that makes sense though, in a way.
Yeah, like
'cause the
Ternasky's,
skaters,
they know, and they're like, oh, this is happening now. I remember him saying this is happening. And then I filmed at that San Francisco contest. And then I think it was that San Francisco contest would be after the summer, right? So that's fall of 91.
In September?
Yep. And then I'm filming at EMB at those sessions.
Heavy.
I mean, amazing. And then filming at the contest, and Mike is at that contest, Ternasky, and all the Plan B riders are at that contest. And at that point, Carroll and I are like this, you know, like I gave him his pro spotlight. I'm filming him all the time. The world is my oyster. Like he's in a moment where skating is not so technical that it's driving him crazy. Learning new tricks is happening. And we're filming all the time, getting footage every time we go out. And so the San Francisco contest happens. I'm sort of now at this point, Ternasky's like, okay, now you're going to film, you're going to be my filmer in San Francisco for Mike Carroll and for anyone else on this company who's in the Bay Area. I'm like, check, got it.
Got you.
Now this is where it gets interesting. I'm 18 years old, summer of 91. And when you're 18, you can write you can write a note to excuse yourself from a class in high school.
You write yourself?
Yeah. Because you're 18 years old.
Oh, you're
an adult.
18. That's
You're
right.
an adult.
Okay.
Yeah, legally. Yeah.
So I had a 6th period typing class.
Oh God.
And I mean, the number of excused absences, it could be like 56. And 56 is a lot when you consider school days are only 5 days a week, and in one semester.
Yeah.
So basically the fall semester, I had 56 excused absences that I excused. And every day I drive from Palo Alto to Daly City. I pick up Mikey, or I sit at his house for a while he showers.
Mm-hmm. Wait. So you would go to school,
I'd go to school,
but just ditch that last class.
Yeah, because he's not going to wake up early, and we're not going to film at fucking 11. So I get to his house by 1:30, 2.
Sure.
Then it's like, are we getting the KFC sandwiches before? Are we stopping at FTC on the way to EMB?
Yeah.
And then it's like, now we're at Embarcadero, and that was the program for that whole semester. There was one trip to San Diego where I went down. I don't know if I went down to ASR, but I went down and saw Mike, and I filmed with Mike Ternasky. I filmed Rick Howard and Danny Way. When Danny sacked himself in questionable on that flat rail, he's wearing shorts and a hat backwards, and he sacked himself on that rail. I filmed that, and then and Rick, I think that was when Rick focused my board.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm like trying to focus it, and he shoves me out of the way. And he just
I loved that shit. Pushes you out the bro.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who that was.
That was me.
That was you.
That was me.
Wow.
And I'm wearing an Anyway shirt.
Anyway, okay.
So I film with Mike there in that session. That's the fall. I'm filming.
Who was filming that?
Carroll Ternasky.
Amazing.
And Sloshbach.
Amazing.
Sloshbach was in the family there too.
Yes.
So then I get the call from Mike, like November-ish, and he's like, "Hey, so I don't know what your situation is with school, if you have enough credits to graduate early, but I'd love for you to come down to San Diego and basically be the third member of our team." He's like, "We got me and Sloshbach." Of course, Sloshbach was the one that I held the big four, when at skate camp in '88. So he's like, so you guys, and at that point he saw all the videos that I made.
Yeah.
So he knows I can edit. He knows that I can film. So he's just like, "Can you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, totally." So then I go into the end of that semester.
What's happening with Carroll at this point?
Carroll's in San Francisco. We're getting footage, but Carroll's in a good place. He's like, "I need someone else in San Diego."
Gotcha.
And he's also like, "I need you full time."
Yeah.
So you're going to get the team van. You're going to be able to drive to San Francisco if you need to film Mikey, but I need you based in San Diego so you can help us with the editing.
More guys down there too.
There's more guys down there, because there's only Carroll in the Bay Area. So he's like, we need to be editing. We need to be doing all this other stuff. Got a little itch. So,
real quick, did you film Rick in the store buying the socks?
Yes. It was amazing. Yes, Kmart. Yes.
What the hell was he buying socks for?
He always needs
Dude,
socks.
bro,
Really?
He is,
Yeah.
He's a sock. He's just,
no, he's got serious problems with his feet.
Bro,
Yeah.
he would sweat right through a
Yeah.
sock and it would be drenched.
I feel bad for him.
Really?
Like, oh, like he has athletes, but like,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it was gnarly back then.
Yeah.
He's chilling now, I'm sure.
it was bad. It was
I mean, I
almost
had
a
some
joke
too,
that
so-
he would like throw the socks at you. It's like, anyway. So I now know I'm going to do it. My parents are like, cool. Yeah, no problem as long as you graduate early. Mm-hmm. So I get my report card going into Christmas vacation. And I did not get a passing did not get passing credits in my typing class.
well, I wonder why. Jesus Christ.
Typing class.
I know.
It's like
Who
a-
the hell?
I think there's like a certain amount of days that you can like miss in your
Yes.
semester. I think it like I don't know what it is back
Fif-
then.
56
is
was-
way past.
50
I think it was
Yeah.
like in the 20s. It should be like in the
Exactly.
20s.
Yeah.
It's low 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, we have some family friends and they're like, I'll always remember that dinner. And I basically told my parents, I was like, I got 4 credits instead of 5. So I'm 1 credit shy of graduating.
Oh my God.
But I'm going to San Diego
Wow.
to work on this with Mike. And they knew Mike because remember they came to skate camp.
Sure.
And they know all this stuff. So they're like, you know, I'm going to live with him. It's like, it's all, you know, worked out. So we have Christmas. A couple days later, I get on the Southwest flight from San Jose to San Diego. Have my camera, have everything. Go to the Plan B mini ramp. Danny Way is trying Caballerial nose blunt gazelle out.
Oh.
Like one of the heaviest sessions I've ever seen in my life. I'm just off the plane. Sloshbach is there. I'm there. We're both filming. And Mike is there. Rick is there. Rick, I think that's the same night he did heel flip varial nose slap
Okay.
on the mini ramp. We slowed down in his part.
Sure. And he was coming down from Vancouver.
Yep. He was coming down from Vancouver and he would stay with Sheffy or stay with Danny. And Danny landed cab, nose blunt, gazelle out. And just an anecdote with me and Mike, I was like, great, we got it. Like we got 2 cameras on it. We totally have it. Right? And I think I got the low angle and Sloshbach got the high angle from the deck or something. And I was like, oh, so we watched mine, we watched Slosh's, and I was like, dude, Slosh, dude, you got the shot, dude. That was fucking sick. Your shot is dope. Like I just told Slosh, like his shot looked fucking beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
And then many, many months later, when Mike and I were having a conversation, he's like, that's when I knew I was so grateful to have you working for me, is you actually told him he got a better shot.
Right.
And Mike was like, I actually liked your shot more. I'm not saying that for my own thing, but Mike was like, I kind of liked your shot, but I loved that you took yourself out of it.
Yes.
And Mike's whole deal with me was he was like just trying to destroy self-importance because he saw this kid that wanted to be liked and that wanted to be accepted and to be seen. And he just kept trying to remove that desire from me and puff me up on my own.
Right.
And that was kind of his path with me. But that's like the blessing. That's what I get. I get off the airplane and I see that trick and I'm just like, and right. So that's the skate camp journey to that night. And then we go to the house and Mike's like, oh, you want to watch a part? And I was like, oh yeah. So then he shows me Pat Duffy's part.
Oh wow.
For the bang.
Shit.
And it's fucking done.
It's already done.
It's done.
And you have never heard of this dude before?
I mean, I'd
He kinda
filmed
came
him
out
at
of-
an amateur contest and I'd seen him at EMB once or twice.
Yeah.
But I had heard the legend of Pat Duffy. Like I'd heard like that dude Pat, because Mike's like, dude, we got this guy Pat. And I remember watching, I mean, I feel like, I don't know if I cried, but I like to cry at skate videos. Like if you were at,
like it's a beautiful
Fully
cry.
flared.
yeah, like fully, if you're a fucking fully flared and fucking
Guys,
guys,
Oh
fucking the
my
doors
God.
open,
Yeah.
and you're just like, come on, fucking inject this into my veins. Like, but I want to feel that from skateboarding. And I remember when the fucking rain comes and fucking the
Primus.
doors,
Oh no, doors. I'm sorry.
but it's like that. And it was like, and you know, and he, and it's like, and that's for me, that's Mike.
Yeah.
that he is the one that saw that you could make skate videos theatrical.
Yeah.
That you could build emotion through editing, through music, through tone, through slow motion, and you could actually like what a real movie does.
Bring you on a journey.
Oh, you know, here's the breadcrumbs. This is, have a little bite. Oh, come on, come here. And he did, and to digress a bit, he did that with a life video.
Yes,
Right. So in Sheffy's part, it's astounding.
That music starts coming.
The music starts coming in. It's like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it's like I think Ron Allen did a riff on it, and he shows you the spots. It's not filmed well, but the idea is brilliant. Yeah. He literally shows you like a gap. He shows you a handrail.
Before it's done.
But you don't see anyone skating. You just see those things at the beginning, and you hear this
Totally.
wah, and then it cuts to a slow-mo shot of Sheffy with his fucking. I mean, bro, that's Sheffy, right? Like when we
I'm
think
getting
about
goosebumps
that,
back here, by the way.
See?
What's that? I'm getting goosebumps back
Let's
here.
go. Let's go.
He's gonna cry. I'm just gonna cry.
I'll cry with you. But then he proceeds to fucking destroy every one of those spots.
Yep.
And when he did, you felt a sense of completion. Like you're like, oh, and then he fakey ollies a fucking picnic tail. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck is going on here? But again, so Mike did that with the life video, and at the same time, with the Not the New 8th Street video, he starts putting fucking Beethoven in there. He starts putting AC/DC in there. And now Dan Sturt is filming it. And Sturt's filming is beyond reproach. His filming as a lensman, Sturt is, to me, like as a skate filmer, like you go, I want to at least try to get a trick the way Sturt would get it. And so Mike has the Sturt footage. He starts throwing this music in that's totally different than anything that's been used. And by the way, what he's used prior in his videos that he's made with other people, great music. Stuff that we think of to this day. The Cry, If You're Alone Now, you know, To Be On Your Own, that Matt Hensley part in Hocus Pocus. Amazing. But he goes in and he's testing all these ideas. And then Questionable is like, okay, here it is. This is the best I can do. I have the best kids. I got the team of filmers. At that point, him and Sloshbach are filming primarily. I come in and like pepper in a bunch of stuff at the end, but I don't take any credit for like the visual prowess and Questionable. I have a lot of footage in there, but like that video is Mike's vision of what and how a skateboard video can feel.
Brilliant.
And it is like, and when you go to that Questionable premiere was like, my dad wrote me a letter on the airplane flying home. And he said, I am so proud of you to see what you're a part of.
Amazing.
And he said, and the way that people talk about you, that you work with, makes me proud of you. And so again, that's so integral to the trust that he had for me to be able to stay with Mike and all this stuff. Now I still had to do Outward Bound that summer because I didn't graduate high school.
Okay.
But
had to get your credit.
But that, yeah, but I think that video, to go on a tangent a little bit, is like, it made you feel what skateboard videos could be.
Right.
It's why I have a soft spot for Ty. It's why I have a soft spot for Bill. John Miner, when he, you know, that first E-America video, like, you know, there's a thing there. And skateboarding is the best because it can be this instrument that plays so many notes.
Absolutely.
1000%.
And it's like, yeah, so I saw the Duffy. So to go back, I saw the Duffy part and was like,
this is what I'm fucking involved with.
Yeah. And then now you're like, okay, like, you know, and I fucked up on that trip. Sal did a backside 180 double kickflip at La Jolla, and I played it back, and I didn't play it long after. Oh, so what happened back then is, you know, people changed it later once they learned the mistake. But if you play a clip, so let's say we got a clip, and I'd be like, Chris, check this out. Boom, we watch it. Yes. If I stop it too soon and then record the next trick, it might actually wind back a touch. So Sal landed a rad trick, and I kind of cut off the end a little bit. And I was just like, oh my God,
Devastating.
Devastating. And what can you say? And like at that time, a backside 180 double kickflip down like 7 stairs was pretty legit.
Did you tell Sal? Did you tell Sal?
Sal was right. Yes, Sal knew. Yeah,
He saw it.
Yeah, he saw it eventually.
What did he have to say about that?
Yeah,
we ended up using it. We just because we cut right. It's a very quick cut.
Yeah.
But I fucking blew it.
Wow.
And I really felt bad.
Happens to the best of them.
It could be worse. You could have cut it completely off.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I know I have some of that. I have a couple tapes of sessions that I recorded over because back in the day the tapes are so expensive.
Yeah.
But I have like Guy Mariano session that I recorded over. That's like
damn.
Dagger in the heart.
Yeah, it's not like a painting. You can just kind of clean away the surface and get underneath.
Yeah.
So once you saw the Pat Duffy part, did he show you any other parts, by the way? Or maybe some footage and stuff? Or?
I mean, we definitely watched footage.
Okay.
The Pat Duffy part was done in the fall. And that was the first thing he showed me. He may have shown me the Pat Duffy part when I came down for that trip where I filmed Mike, Rick, and Danny.
Okay.
But it was done early. And it set the tone.
Yes,
Fuck.
it did.
Yes.
And it's like, it's hard, man, because, Mike knew that was a motivator, which it was.
I mean, did he show that to like Carroll or anybody else, or like to kind of like?
Oh yeah, I mean, and those guys,
fire under that.
I mean, and those guys talk about like how that, looking back, was not a positive experience for them.
I'm sure
because they didn't feel great. But
But
that's
Duffy
that
also
pushed
was on a
them.
different
But
level.
that's
They
the
didn't
thing.
skate like Duffy.
But see, we were too young.
Right.
Yeah.
You're too young. You just see a guy skating and you're like, oh fuck, I guess I'm supposed to do handrails too. And the answer is no.
Yes.
You're supposed to do what you do really well.
Exactly.
And maybe there's a handrail in there for you, but maybe not.
If that inspired you to do do it.
Then great.
Right.
Yeah, the transference of that.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was amazing, and then I'm filming Rodney, and then I'm filming Danny, and then I'm filming Rick, and then I go to Canada. You fucking stopped at the border. That's a great story. I get on the airplane to go to Canada with Mikey to film Rick and Colin. We fly to Canada. First time I've left the country.
You going to Vancouver?
Going to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is 92.
Short flight. Easy.
Short flight. Yeah, easy.
Sure.
Pacific corridor is a little bumpy. I don't like that. I get the immigration form. Are you here for business or personal? I'm here for fucking business. I was like, so I'm like, I'm here for business, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like I got my camera,
Red
I'm
flag.
filming for Plan B.
You
Boom.
don't say
I'm here for
that.
business. Yeah. We get to immigration. So you're here for business? Yeah. I'm filming this. I'm filming the new Plan B video. And the guy's like, do you have your work permit? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, you can't just enter the country, So
You're taking work away from
correct.
the
Well,
citizens.
what I meant was,
So, but this is
what I meant was I'm handling business.
yeah, exactly.
So
So
I take it they didn't let you in.
they detain me,
Okay.
and when they detain me, Mike finally gets on the phone with them. He's like, look, he's not really filming, he's just kind of a kid. Like he just loves doing this, and I'm kind of telling him that he's, just let him film. He's just filming with his friends.
Okay.
And Mike talked to someone, but that person couldn't override the decision that was made before them.
Yeah.
So Mikey and I are on the plane on the runway, and Carroll at this point, probably the first time he really started hating me. and it's like we're waiting, and it was like, this is the worst. I just felt so horrible. And I had talked to Mike, right? Because it's just a back and we were detained for like 8 to 10 hours.
Oh, God. Both you guys.
Yeah. Well, because he's like, I'm not going to stay if you're not going to be here. It's like, we have no filmer.
Sure.
yeah.
The plane breaks down on the runway.
Oh my.
Well, what happens when you get off the plane? You have to re-enter the country. I'm not here for work. I'm here for pleasure.
Wait a minute. So
Like,
you
I
get
know this.
wait. So
I'm
you
not
go
doing it this time. Yeah.
you go into customs. You do all that stuff. Then they put you back on the plane.
we're on the plane. That plane breaks down.
And you got to get back off.
The plane that going back to LA or San
Francisco. Yeah, the plane going back to SFO breaks down.
You come
on
back
the runway.
out off that plane.
But you have to fill out your immigration form again to re-enter the country.
Is it the same guy at the booth?
No, it's the guy that Mike buttered up who was like, poor kid.
Okay.
So I fucking walked through. The guy's like, no problem, kid. You're good.
Yeah.
Rick Howard's on the other side. He's like, Rose. And then it was.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it worked out.
Oh,
It worked out. But it was like, that's the beautiful thing about this thing we love is it offers you so many experiences to just kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's literally no one like sat me down and said, so Jacob, if you're traveling internationally,
Right.
Yeah.
do not fill out. I was like, what do you like? What?
Yeah.
Like I thought this was cool to just fill out a form.
Sure.
I didn't know it was serious.
Going to
They feel like a
handle
grown up.
business.
Yeah, doing business. I'm a
Yeah.
grown up.
Yeah.
Gonna
that's-
go
Yeah.
film. Work
Yeah.
on a Plan B video.
Yeah.
This is Mike Carroll.
Yeah.
Where it's Rick Howard over there.
That's right.
That's pleasure.
And staying at Colin McKay's house.
Oh my goodness
yeah.
gracious! Wow.
That was a wild trip.
So you filmed for the Plan B questionable video.
Yeah.
How long did you film that for?
I probably, I would have filmed in the summer of 91 and the fall of 91. And then I was full time from January to when it came out. It came out April 12th, 1992.
Okay, so about a year, give or take a couple months.
I mean, I'd say less than that,
okay, okay.
The company didn't really start until the summer of 91. There's some 8th Street footage that's in that video. But, the way that it was designed to edit the parts and do it, it was pretty efficient once you had all the footage for a skater. When Mike had, we had an Apple computer in the editing room, and let's say we shot something together. I would take your tape and I'd take that clip that we love and maybe some outtakes and some other cool stuff, and I'd transfer it to your transfer tape.
Okay.
And then I'd go onto the computer and I'd write the time code on the computer. Chris did
Blah,
switch
blah, blah,
flip Manny
here. Right.
at this time, blah, blah, blah. And then that would get a star designation to it. Now, switch flip Manny, that's a fucking,
4 stars.
4
maybe.
stars for sure.
Maybe 5
For sure.
if we're jumping.
If we had that criteria.
No, I mean you got to add that criteria.
For you, we would have.
Thank you.
So 5-star switch flip Manny, that's on the computer. It's right there. And then the next clip that gets logged, you're going to look at it. You're going to go, is this like an opener? That's a 4. Is it like a slow motion? That's a 4. Is it like a line that's okay? That's like a 1 or a 2. But you would log it and then you would assign a designation to it with how sort of like how it made you feel or how great it was. Okay. And then when it came time to edit, you would print out the transfer tape and then you would kind of circle the clips and then start to, in your head, envision the order of the part because everything was analog, tape to tape. And then, so we would audition a song, you'd lay the song down, and then you would start grabbing the clips and start putting them together in an order. But you could, if you got to the point where you had every clip on the transfer tape and you had the song transferred, you could do a part in about a day or so.
Okay.
Like that's what it was.
That's what it was. Quick.
Like, yes, once you had everything. Right. So for questionable, I edited the contest and demos, the slam section, the credits, all the end credit stuff. Mike did the parts in questionable. He edited all the parts.
Got you.
In questionable.
You're watching him edit the parts?
100%. The editing room was always like, we'd always edit late at night. We'd start after his fiance and then eventually his wife would go to bed. And then we'd edit until about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Because that was at his house office.
Yeah.
His house office.
Well, he lived on Springbrook Drive in Poway. So you'd go Poway Boulevard, and then right up in the hill, there was this condominium complex. And he had a little editing room there, right off the side on the downstairs. And then upstairs was the master bedroom and then the guest bedroom. So I lived in the guest bedroom. He would kind of have his evening with Mary, and then we would kind of, meet in the editing room. And it was like, okay, whose part's going to happen tonight?
Are you is other skaters coming in to check out all their parts and other people's parts
For
as
sure.
well? Yeah.
For sure. Mike wasn't, I don't remember him being secretive or not sharing what was going on. I think
it's a motivator.
he liked
also.
yes, to a fault for him.
Sure.
But keep in mind, Mike was 25 years old when he made questionable.
Got you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 20. Yeah, 25.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 24.
Okay.
He would have turned 25 in March, right before Questionable came out.
Wow.
Yeah, 24.
Did you choose any people's songs in the video?
In Questionable, the only songs that I chose would be the sections that I edited. And when I say chose, it's like nothing was like, oh, I'm using this.
Oh, okay.
It was like, hey, what do we think? And it's like, oh, Green Day, this is, no effects. Oh, it's
a conversation.
It's always a conversation. But Mike was very collaborative. Yeah. And again, this is the thing to me that just blows my fucking mind. I really struggle to wrap my head around it, not because I can't conceptualize it, but because it's so damn beautiful. That I'm this 18-year-old kid. Like, I have no business to be in this editing room with this guy at all. And he's like, okay, great. You're editing the slam section. Or like, oh, what do you think of this, Jake? What do you think of this? And I'm like, well, I think you should do this. He's like, okay, great. That's a good idea. I mean, it was a full collaborative thing. Like, he drove that ship in Questionable. Mm-hmm. And the gift that he gives me is Virtual is still a partnership with us, but I edited the majority of Virtual. And at that point, he's like starting to see him taking a higher role at the company, and like he saw what I can do. So now it's like, and of course he's approving everything. We're doing a lot together. Yeah. But he trusted people.
Yeah. You got to empower people as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's the motivator.
But he saw something in you.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Which is, I mean, you can't downplay yourself, Jake. At the end of the day,
he's used a good floor.
And you're a younger generation too.
Yeah, dude, he saw
up,
something in you, bro, early on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Jim Thiebaud said something amazing to me. I think, when I very kind of specifically got out of skateboarding after Mike passed, and I remember talking about all these things that had happened to me, and Jim was like, "Be careful to give Mike too much credit." And I was always grateful that Jim said that. He's such a wise and beautiful soul. And it was like, like you do have to give yourself that. But I'm at heart, like, I'm still that kid. He's still alive. He's still my boss. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I can't ever see myself other than the disciple, the mentee.
I guess.
I think he just turned 28 when he died. He's still older than me today.
It's so crazy,
yeah.
man. So crazy. So Questionable comes out, huge success. I mean, it fucking blew people's minds. I mean, we just came off of the blind video days, and all of a sudden Questionable comes out.
And there's a big gap between those two videos. It's not a year, but it's close to 9 months.
That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Real shit.
The level is insane. So after Questionable comes out, is there now talk of the virtual reality? Because the virtual reality then is like a year later, 14 months later. Like, how is this? So what is going on over there? Well, are they just on full speed ahead? Video.
So much was going on, and I think that's part of what happened after Virtual, and for me burning out on Virtual was that so Questionable's done in April. And at this time, Big Brother is spinning up.
Gotcha.
Okay. So there's this real interesting thing that kind of happens there, right? Also, I think Drawers starts to get a little active in there as Drawers clothing around this time too.
Sure.
So these apparel brands start to become something. Snowboarding is actually kind of like getting to skaters like Cardiel and Wade Spot and like Danny snowboards. So, that next season when Virtual's happening, like, I believe like Type A snowboards was starting.
Type A.
So Mike like started Duff's, which was a shoe company. Type A, he starts this snowboard company. He sees all the opportunity there.
Wait, Mike started Duff's?
He's a part of the group that started Duff's. Wow. I thought could totally be wrong, but my feeling is there was some connection with Mike T to Duff's. I could be wrong. But he starts Type A. Big Brother starts, right? So now after Questionable, they're like, Jake, just take a month off. So I go home, take a month off, and then it's like, now I'm filming again. And this is when you and I are seeing each other more often. And I'm at the warehouse. I'm filming Rodney.
Yeah.
I'm in LA. I'm shooting for Big Brother. Like they're doing frame grabs. I edited a Taekwondo video for Mike at fucking at the World Park. There were decks there, and Mike's like, here's all the. He was like super involved in Taekwondo, and he like filmed this whole tournament. And I fucking made the edit of the tournament, of the Taekwondo tournament.
He's like the song that he's the best around.
I don't know that song.
Okay,
sorry.
Karate Kid. Sorry.
My bad. And then that summer, it's like, and this was something I realized recently, was that I was looking at some footage of Rodney that I had filmed around that time, and the first time that he did a dark slide on he landed at Carlsbad High, and I shot it long lens.
Oh, that clip was amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
Crazy to watch.
It's amazing. Yeah. What's amazing to watch is how into the trends Rodney was.
Yeah.
For as individual of a guy that he was, he had baggy as fuck pants and he had tiny wheels. And that's the professor, dude. He was rocking the same wheels. Like he's the guy that tells you, well, technically this doesn't help your ollie.
Right.
Yeah. But no, he had,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I was looking at that footage of him and I was like, why was I filming long lens? Because I was just trying to understand how my voice as a filmer evolved. And I realized, it was Big Brother. Because they were pulling the frame grabs and the fucking long lens looked way better than the fisheye when you pulled the frame
So
grabs.
now
you could see
you're
it.
thinking of Big Brother screen grabs in the way that you film clips.
Yes.
Good or bad
Yes.
thing in your mind?
No, that's a great thing because I was filming for the video, but they could use that as well.
Right.
And when I go back and look at the footage, I'm like, oh, I'm stoked I filmed that way. I found some footage recently of Pat Duffy and Sal skating the fountain at the zoo, San Diego Zoo. And Duffy does a frontside blunt slide on this curb. And I shoot it long lens. And it's like, because it's just, you don't see much long lens from that era.
Yeah.
Swashbox shot a lot of long lens.
Right.
Sturt shot some long lens.
Okay.
So it's like it kind of, you see that world a little bit differently. But that's kind of what was starting to happen. And then that summer, I get tasked with shooting Sheffy's Pro Spotlight for Big Brother. There's, the change of the team. Tony Ferguson gets on.
Yeah.
And then we're filming for virtual.
Full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much, too much change. Only Tony Ferg got on, right?
Yeah. Tony got on and Fabry was off.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Ryan
right.
Faber.
And Fabry and I filmed so much together.
Oh, really?
Great kid.
Gnarly. Yeah, he's good.
Muska told me this story when I first met him. He's like, dude, I met you before. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, remember when you came to Vegas and you filmed Ryan Fabry for Questionable and you were in that like overhang like racquetball court and he's like doing nose slide, back foot flip, nose grind, back foot flip. He's like, I was that kid that was there. And it was like, wow. Incredible. Like,
the fact that he must, bro, legend. I mean, legend, bro.
by the way, there's a guy that I love his journey that he is sharing with people right now.
Oh,
just
yeah,
to
he's
say
fully
in real
in it,
time.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just have so much respect for him being completely honest with what he's going through emotionally and spiritually and existentially. And I just believe that as much as we give voice to these things that we don't know the right answers to, the more people can support each other to find those answers.
For sure.
And it's just, I love seeing his trip to Ohio and him finding his home. But when Muska said that to me, that was the fucking Muska heyday. I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'd never met him before. But I was like, that's when I kind of realized how special it was to be in that era that I was in. When,
Hell yeah.
He's like, I met you. And I was like,
That's amazing. Because seeing that and then seeing that in Questionable, it probably really made an impact on him.
For sure.
I mean, those videos changed.
Enough for him to bring it
Hell
up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And be
Yeah.
like,
For sure.
I know that's you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah. I mean, Fabry 360 flip sports arena, summer of 92.
Oh, wow.
And broke his board.
The double set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
360 flip.
Right.
And cracked his board.
He was good.
Did he right away?
Hell yeah.
No, like right when he landed,
Oh, just
back
broke.
foot. And he
Damn.
was leaned a little bit too far back,
Yeah.
but he caught it and stomped it and broke his board. Like that's
Ahead of its time.
like a 360 flip down the double set at Sports Arena. Like if that was in virtual reality,
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like with Mikey trying to fakie 360 flip frontside nose slide. If that was in virtual reality, like, yeah.
How was your involvement on like team editions or even like
None?
So
None. The beauty of what Mike did was that the riders made the decisions together, and I was not invited or involved in any team meetings.
Okay.
He did not like say, "Oh, well, just because Jake is filming, he has a say."
Right.
Yeah.
I had a say in the videos with him. It was a very peer-to-peer by the time we're making virtual. And in fact, at that point, because he has all this other stuff going on, he's loving that he can give me shit to do.
Yeah.
You know, and then I'm loving, you know, being trusted to do it. And at that point, like coming through that lens of questionable and being like, this is how it can be done. So now I'm thinking in a way that I hadn't thought before. I love that. Like what can we do with this part? Like what? Because I did push for a lot of personality footage and other stuff, but he loved that shit. He ate it up. But that, you know, I think that's kind of how we landed at the triple screen on the opening, was just sort of like, we just knew how watched the videos were at that point. And I don't remember how it came up, but I know it was Mike and I together, like, because we knew when we go to finish the video, you can do all these extra effects. And it was like, why don't we just fucking do a split screen, dude, and just fucking fuck people up.
That had been difficult.
I was tripping when that first started, because I was like, okay, I'm looking here, and I want to continue looking there.
Yeah,
exactly. Fuck, I gotta look here.
Exactly. So then it was like, well, fuck that. Let's just do 3 screens.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, well, then, you know, I think I had the dumb idea, which trapped me, where it was like, and let's make them all at like the same spot at the same time. Or let's like have them doing all handrails at the same time.
Yeah.
Got you.
So then what I had to do was go and handwrite I had to time the tricks. So go to the transfer tape. I had to pick the tricks, time them. And then I made 3 columns in a notebook. And then I would circle, you know, the 3 that were the same thing at the same time, because all of those screens were their own tapes.
Don't you love when you create more work for yourself? Isn't that beautiful?
I mean, are you glad?
100,000%.
Which means it's always worth it.
No,
like,
for
chase
sure,
down the
for
idea,
sure.
like fuck, and then it is the difference where like we wouldn't have done it without everyone at the same spot or without that sense of unity, but those little moments are what make it magical when you like.
You notice
everyone's on a rail.
You notice it, right?
Mm-hmm. And then like Pat Duffy's doing a line, but it cuts to someone else, and then it comes back to that line. You know?
Yeah.
And again, like I think I'm grateful for that experience, because Mike really empowered me to be at probably my highest confidence for that video.
Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned virtual reality. You mentioned burnout.
Yeah.
What was the burnout? Was it the filming and editing the video?
I think
what was going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think
was the process longer for that video?
No.
What was same?
No, I mean, virtual reality came out June like 12th.
Okay.
Of 1993.
Right.
So 14 months after Questionable. We really didn't start filming until late summer of 93 or summer of 92.
Yep.
The Plan B has a team. They do a tour. That's when Mike and Rick are filming in DC on the Gold Rail and all that stuff.
Got
they get
you.
a lot of
And
footage on that trip.
That's when you're taking your little hiatus. You're taking your break?
No. I'm actually I was running the Plan B office back in Poway.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I saw all these bills were piling up, and I'm like,
uh-oh.
So I paid all the bills. And I was like, Mike, I paid all the bills. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, you don't pay all the bills at once. He's like, they don't need to be, he's like, they don't need to be paid right away. Like I paid like, you know, $12,000 of bills, and I was like super proud of myself. Like he went to the bank so that I could fucking sign the check. Like I was, you know, like given those abilities, and I fucking blew it. I was like, I thought that was my job. And then I think Carl and I think we're coming up with ads, you know, when they were doing that. God, yeah, the ads.
So what was the burnout? What do you think it was?
It was a lot of things. I think.
I sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go. No, I mean, it's just please like, lead.
You're in that. I mean, you just came off Questionable. I mean, this is like you're still new to all this stuff. You're still like paving your way and working with the best.
Look, I'm telling my story. My narrative is coming from a specific point of view, like I was picked on a lot by those guys.
Okay.
And I get why. And I was, as I've gotten older, I'm less salty about it. I'm actually, it's more endearing to me. Like, it's more like, oh, Jake.
It's kind of the landscape back then as well.
100%. But by the way, like, for all these fucking guys who are getting smoked by these young kids and feeling intimidated, like, fuck you, Jake. Fuck you, fat Jake. Like, that was really normal to be talked to like that. And it wasn't all the time. So it wasn't like a 100% abusive relationship.
Yep.
But it became that with Mikey. And, you know, we were filming together all the time. And he was frustrated about things that I didn't know about. And then some things I did know about. And the burnout sort of was like, you're sitting here and you're filming and you're in the gutter. And I'm not saying that my position is any better or any worse than the skater who's literally fucking destroying themselves to do this. But I'm here with you. Like, I'm with you. And by the way, I'm giving everything to be here with you. And I think when it turns into this sort of jocular, like, not that same on the level respect, and it becomes more of a pecking order thing. Like, oh, we can tease him, we can pick on him, even though he's giving everything.
Sure.
You are fatigued at that point.
Hell yeah.
And so for me, it's like, you know, I would love to go film with Rodney, because Rodney would never talk to me in that. Rodney talked to me like, oh, Jake, look, that's great, you know, like, and by the way, we were getting fucking incredible clips together. So I was super grateful for that. So there were guys on the team that I would film and I had a really positive experience with. Or if I filmed with Danny, like, I could push Danny. I could go, come on, dude, fucking, you can do this. Like, I'll bet you this, or I'll bet you. And then you would fucking do it.
Right.
And you're like, great. And then he would walk away being like, cool. And he might still say, fuck you, Jake, you know, just to kind of lump in with the crowd. But still, you know, there was, like, he knew that I was paying my dues. So the thing that's, you know, that Danny mentioned it when he was on here, and it's that Mikey and I had a fight, you know, in the editing room. And I think he was just really frustrated. And I think the fight was indicative of the burnout. And I'm cutting Rick Howard's part for Virtual. I picked the song with Mike. We agreed the Rick James song. So now I'm sketching the part. And I'm like putting the clips in the order that I'm feeling, and I'm starting to feel the opening and feel the flow of it. And I'm cutting Rick's part, and Mike's on the phone with his girlfriend, and he's in the same room that I'm in, and he's on the phone. He's like, turn that shit down. I was like, no. He's like, turn that shit down, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. I was like, no. In fact, I turned it up.
Oh shit.
And then I keep editing it. And he fucking goes to hit me, and I kind of like kick him like this, and he's sitting in a chair, and he falls straight back, and his legs are in the air. And then, you know, the phone's off the hook now, and it's like, fuck you, motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, if you've ever been in a fight, like, that first moment, once you know you're in it, you're good to go. Like, everything is up, and you're like, okay, all right, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, he starts calling me out now, like, what are you, and like my body starts cooling off, and now I'm getting scared. I'm like, this is a guy that grew up fighting his brother, like, oh, fuck. And by the way, I idolized Mike Carroll.
Yeah.
Like, I filmed that guy. I love that guy. Everyone in front of the camera, I love them. I just wanted to, like, show people the way I love them, so that they felt that thing that I felt when they did something amazing. So he's yelling, fuck you, motherfucking fat Jake, blah, 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 fuck you. And I was so scared. Mike T and Rick are right behind him in the living room, and they're just like, you know, after the fact, you know, they were like, you know, like, oh shit. So I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do. I'm fucking scared. I was like, okay, fuck it, let's go. So we walk out to the front of the house. We stand. She's like, let's go outside. She's like, you know, fuck you, I'm gonna kick your ass and go outside. Okay, let's go outside. So we go outside, we stand outside the front door. And I was like, he's like, fuck, come on, you fucking. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And I just went, boom. And I just swung as hard as I could, and I fucking hit him square in the jaw. Perfect shot. Boom. Hit him right in the jaw. And I swear to God, he literally goes, deja vu. He said deja vu right after I punched him. Like it was so fucking.
Did you even phase him a little bit?
I mean, I did. I
Okay.
rung his bell. Like, no, I didn't knock him out.
Sure,
like,
sure,
I just,
sure.
I mean, I don't think I was.
Woke him up. You woke him up.
Yeah, woke him up. And he said, thank you. That's exactly what happened. He said, deja vu. And it was so weird because I remember time just stopped. And then he just grabs me, he puts me in a headlock, and he's just pounding me in the head, just bop, 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 nonstop. And all I could do is keep my chin low. And when there's this ice plant in front of Mike's house, and I grab him, and I swing around, and I use my momentum, and I'm like about to throw him off this like 5-foot ledge. And he grabs me, he sticks his pinky like in my shirt like this, and he goes like that. And he locks into my shirt, and he pulls me down the ice plant. And then he's like, keeps punching me, I'm punching him, and then we're both like really tired. And then and he's like, all right, dude, I respect you.
That sounds just like Carroll.
And I literally was like, took off my shirt, took off my socks, walked straight into the pool, and just like go in the pool under the water. Ternasky and Rick are like, they're in the living room. Mikey's like already on a phone calling to book a flight home to leave. And they're like waiting to see me. Like they just, I've just gone straight to the pool. So
right.
they're like, and I think they were Rick and Mike were bummed that I didn't, like, he just drilled the shit out of my forehead. And then Ternasky took me out to dinner.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that was kind of
were you like sad after, or like what?
I was exhausted.
Yeah,
I was exhausted.
But at the same time, it's like you probably felt a different bond with him that you never felt before.
Well, for sure,
after the fight,
for sure,
it always seems to happen that way.
100%.
Way better friends.
100%. We were more on the level after the fight. But what happened.
Sure.
Like the boiling to that point was just ridiculous.
Did you even feel like maybe like, oh God, I just fought Mike Carroll. I'm going to get fired. Like I'm just going to like get let go.
No.
Ternasky's going to be pissed at me.
No, like I said, he took me out to dinner and he asked me what it felt like to hit him.
So good. Yes.
By the way, no one loved Mike Carroll more than Mike Ternasky. I'm pretty confident of that. Yeah. That like makes me emotional to say that because I know that it didn't end the best way for them. Mikey knows that now.
Right.
And part of that has been important for me to make sure that he really knows that. And him and Mikey and I are incredible friends now. It's one of my most prized relationships that I still have because I felt like I grew up so much. And we were so young when all that shit went down.
Sure, definitely.
To go, I was at his house last weekend swimming in the pool with my kids.
Amazing.
Like that shit makes me want to cry. Like that's the guy that like inspired me so much as a kid. Like I loved him. And I wanted, when you saw him do the fronts, I wanted, and he caught it so well. Like, like I'm fucking cheering along.
Yeah.
And we're still filming after that fight. We do still film some more and we do finish the video.
Okay.
It's almost like on some Big Brother shit. Not to cut you off, like
Yeah,
you guys
please,
had
cut me
the
off.
longest. You guys had the longest relationship in leading up into that point.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So I think that he's gonna have those moments of like just picking on you regardless because you guys have that rapport.
Yeah.
So I think obviously the frustration of filming a video and him being in the fucking room with you editing in the moment on the phone with his girlfriend when he knows he can walk the fuck out.
100%.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
But that's Mikey too, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Not even editing his part, editing Rick Howard's
exactly.
part.
So it was just one of those things. I'm sure it was just a frustrating moment.
Yeah.
But him also having his little hierarchy and being like, no, I'm not, and that's how, at that time, Mike was a dick. And I'm just being honest. I love Mike to death.
A god and a dick.
Of course.
And that's the thing that's so unique.
And that's why
with-
it was acceptable at that time.
Exactly.
And people would accept that shit.
And I accepted it. I took
A lot
it.
of people accepted it.
The thing that pains me, one of the things that pains me the most, there's that line at Lincoln, frontside 180 flip, switch flip on the tennis court in virtual.
Oh my God.
So we filmed that line. That's my board. That's my Carl's Jr. board. The Rodney Carl's Jr. board, one of my favorite boards.
He broke his board.
No. Then I filmed Danny's frontside 180 flip that ends his part. Okay. Right? In virtual.
Oh, yeah. The bump over the thing?
bump over at the Carl's Jr. gap.
Yeah.
He broke his board, so he landed it on my board. that Carl's Jr. board at the Carl's Jr. Gap. That's kind of cool for skate nerds.
Wow. That's tight.
I'm filming Mikey at the marina in San Diego. He gets pissed. He throws my board in the ocean. Okay. My Carl's Jr. board. That's prior to the fight. That's prior, it's just
It's a build
leading up to.
It's hard to, I think one of the hardest things to do is develop skills growing up being a celebrated pro skater at a young age.
Yeah.
So I was trying to remember who this was the conversation I had with Meza, because I don't want to attribute it to the wrong person, but it was like, Nija's never had a conversation with someone who didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm. Most likely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you go through your life and your formative years,
Right.
everyone knows who you are. Like
Or you expect somebody to know who you are.
for sure.
That's true.
And you're in those circles. So in a way, like there's just a severe, I think there's an arrested development in skateboarding that's hard. Like I have a lot of sympathy for that and empathy for that, seeing people try to kind of like find their way later in life. And I had a fucking baseball bat to the head when my best friend dies, and then I got to figure it out. But like, had I been, who knows what happens, to be in it longer. But, I think back on that time. I think back on those guys leaving. I took that all very personally. I was very upset. I was very angry with them. And then Mike dies. But now I go, dude, we were so young.
Yeah.
And like none of those dudes were good at talking about their feelings.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ternasky was, I was. That's why we were so close. And he knew that I needed him. And he gave me all of him. And thank God.
Right.
But I think it's like those guys were 18 years old when they started Girl.
Yeah.
Like
That's fucking bananas to think
so
about.
young.
Right?
Yeah.
18 years old?
Well, those guys, but Megan wasn't. She was
Yeah.
a little older, so
Sure.
that made them feel much more confident
100%.
in the process.
100%.
But still, it's quite an endeavor.
But just
to
say
go
that,
I
out
agree,
there.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I know that they for sure were like scared to take that chance.
Insecure, and it's like,
and they were already those individuals. So, but they took the risk, and it was the best
Yeah.
risk possible.
absolutely,
At that time.
absolutely.
Sure. And that's what makes the industry, people leaving companies,
Yeah.
starting their
Yeah.
own. I mean, this is what keeps the process going sometimes, so to speak.
Definitely.
It's crazy. But man, wow.
But that was the burnout. And then
I can
so we
imagine.
finished the video. Mike Ternasky gets married like the next weekend.
After the video comes out.
After the video comes out.
By the way, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Blind section in the video.
Sure.
What sparked that?
So
Because Jerron didn't even know.
yeah.
I don't think a lot of the guys knew.
So-
they saw it at the premiere.
like I said, my version is what I know and experienced.
Yep.
It's a topic in skateboarding that those guys knew they were going to leave, grabbed the tapes, and said, edit this. Well, I edited that part, and I don't ever remember Mike and Rick
Edited what the blind section.
the friends part. So Rudy, if you remember, I made that part for Rudy Johnson,
Yep.
and I used Beatles music for that because Rudy loved the Beatles. Rick Howard also loves the Beatles.
Yeah.
So, to my recollection, Rocco did not have another video lined up when we were making virtual reality. He was all in on Big Brother. There was nothing lined up to happen anytime soon. So, great. We'll use your footage. Some of it's mine. Some of it's Mike T's. We'll use your footage and we'll edit this part of all of these friends. Great. And we'll call it the friends section. And then we'll use Beatles.
To kind of promote the other companies.
It was to kind of fill a
Blind.
gap. Like
Right.
Plan B is under this big umbrella with these other companies. So like, why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah.
And by the way, like a lot of those people are friends of ours and people that we film with. And so you're putting footage of Guy and Rudy in there, and they've been at sessions when we've been there. So it was cool to do. So in my recollection, when I edited that part, it was taking the best footage that we had access to of those guys and cutting it together.
So sick.
And and that was that.
I mean, it is one of the parts in that video, among a lot of others, that definitely stick out to me. You know, the friend section.
For sure.
But
you're saying that Rick and Mike told you to do that?
No.
Or who said they do that?
I'm saying that Ternasky, it was like, let's get the footage from Sock and World to put something for those companies because they don't have a video coming out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I don't know where, and it's like, I mean, by the way, Mike and Rick could very well have had the idea to start something at the time that happened. But I don't remember now. And again, they could have had a conversation with Ternasky that I wasn't privy to, where they said, "Hey, Mike, you should see and put about this footage." I've never heard that they had a conversation because that's the only way that it would have happened. Someone would have had to tell Ternasky, and Ternasky would have said, "That's a great idea."
Right.
My recollection is that there was a conversation with Rocco about how, and Mike, by the way, Mike made Love Child.
Yeah, I mean,
so Mike had and was comfortable with acting. Like the summer after Questionable, Mike makes Love Child for World.
Well, it's like the same thing. That makes the most sense to me is the girl and chocolate vibe, right? You have a girl video, you put chocolate guys in there, now you're promoting the chocolate. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, cool. These blind guys don't have a video coming out, so we're going to put them in here. We're going to support blind, give them some shine too.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes the most sense.
Absolutely.
It does, but there's a lot of footage still at that time, you know? So you guys took a little sliver of what was on that transfer tape that Sock still holds. There's so much shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there still could have a video still could have been made.
Right.
After the fact.
Right.
Because there was only not even a minute of footage was used. You know what I mean? So it's like, what happened to all that footage?
But to me, I think what Tron's saying, if Sock still has the tape, we've never seen any of the footage.
But you wouldn't. But here's the deal. It's a Plan B video. I would have never done that.
Totally.
I would have never, I'm not using contaminated in a negative way. I would have never contaminated the Plan B video with riders that weren't on Plan B. That's the Plan B video.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and I think in my head, there was always a number of tricks for each guy. Mm-hmm. And I think if you go back and look at it, except for a couple of people who maybe didn't have a lot of footage, it's pretty evenly distributed across people to kind of get through there.
Okay.
And so to me, it was always like a little escape. It was a dip out of this. These are all of our friends. Look how rad they are. And like there was maybe enough footage for a video, but maybe there wasn't a vision for the video. Behind it. No, and also, I don't think Sock had made a video at that point for World.
I don't think so either.
So now it's like, who's going to make that video?
And like you said, Rocco's all in on Big Brother.
100%.
So there's
okay,
focus.
now this all makes sense.
I'm glad.
Like,
by the way, those guys might be right. Now that all being said, if those dudes did that on purpose, that hurts me.
For sure.
Like for real. Like I was hurt when they left because I saw Mike showing the books to them. I saw Mike is getting super into snowboarding. Mike is getting into these other things. Like Mike letting me do so much with virtual reality is because that's what he wanted to happen. He wanted me to start making all the videos, and he wanted to start going into these other places and doing other stuff. So he was showing the skateboard business to Rick at that time and sharing a lot of the stuff that was going on. So, but that was how I saw it.
Sure.
And so what hurt me was that I saw him not withholding things or being shady, you know. I saw him doing what he'd always done, which is like, hey, eventually I'm just going to turn this thing over to you guys. And then they left. And so for me, like, that's my guy. Mike's my guy. Yeah. Like, he would fucking go to the mat for me. So I'm going to go to the mat for him. And it took me a long time to let that go. It took me a long time of seeing Rick here and there, seeing Mike here and there. And I remember I was at like California Chicken Cafe in Hollywood. I had like,
it's a great place.
It's so good. Chinese chicken salad.
Oh, the best.
Come on. You ever put the red hots on it?
Oh, their barbecue sauce. Anyway, you saw him at California.
No, I had like a 2-hour conversation with Mikey.
Oh yeah.
Then it was kind of right before we did these shoes together, and he just said a lot of stuff to me that I feel like he needed to say, and I said a lot of stuff to him, and then from that point on, I just have really been like, not kumbaya about it, but it's like, I just understand it more. And then I'm kind of grateful for that perspective. And then I go back and then I just go, man, you know, I'm sad that they didn't have the closure that they could have had if they weren't so young before Mike died.
Yeah.
Right.
How did you find out that they were leaving?
I I remember Mike Ternasky calling me, and I was at home in Palo Alto. So after Virtual's done, we release it. We have the premiere, which was fucking crazy. We drive to Northern California together for his wedding in the car together, just Mike and I, which was typical, right? I was always Mike's right-hand man. Like, we would be in the car. I'd take notes for him. I would put, people's phone numbers in who would call. Jake, do this, do that. I mean, I was like right-hand man. And then it was, when it came to the videos, it's like, all right. And we just had like a really gnarly heart-to-heart in that car ride. And he was like, I think we need to take a break. I think this is like, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, I think I really want to get my like degree. I kind of want to finish, get a high school diploma. And then it just kind of turned in. He's like, look, I want to keep doing this together, but let's take a break. And then maybe, we'll do skateboard videos in the winter. We'll do snowboard videos in the summer. And then and then maybe you can go to film school. Okay. You can go to college, get your diploma from high school, go to college. And then, we were looking at what Spike was doing and we're super inspired by that. And he's like, we'll try to make movies. Yeah. And actually get a little production company going. So I was invigorated going back home after Virtual, okay, we have kind of a roadmap. So I could go to film school and I could learn technical craft shit. Still make money making the videos. So I would come in and edit. They would already be filmed. I wouldn't be a part of filming them anymore. I would just be editing them. And then we would kind of, do that going forward. Wow. And then I I got my high school degree and applied to some colleges and I applied to a media school, Emerson College. And I put Cal Arts in Emerson College. And I put Danny's part from Virtual on there.
No way.
So I think I was most proud of the editing of that part. Okay. Because I think I have a soft spot for Rick's part. But the music stuff that I was doing in Danny's part with the donut was deliberate. And we were trying to time things with music more specifically. Yes. And that part I watched it recently after he was on here. I wanted to post his parts so people could see them.
So good.
Street Danny from Virtual.
Crazy.
I make more money than you. Skateboarding. Guaranteed. Favorite shit ever.
That line was
favorite
so
shit
insane.
ever.
God, the best shit ever.
Watching that as a kid, and I'm not a pro. I'm just, and here's this guy telling this woman in a business suit, I make more money than you skateboarding. Yeah. And we don't know the context before that, but obviously she was,
she's trying to kick him out.
Of course. But I was like, that is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah. I mean,
there's this fucking cocky bastard. Just you know what I mean?
I
loved it.
Yeah. It's fucking Danny Way.
It was a legendary moment. Straight up.
Yeah.
Were you there? Were you filming it?
No, that's Mike T.
Oh shit.
In the back of the
There was another thing
van.
too. I was here. It was Mike T that was filming. I think Rick's part. You could hear him go, "Yeah, go ahead," in the line.
Keep going.
He was,
keep going. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. He would do that a lot. Some people didn't like it. Some people liked it. He did that a lot with Rodney. Okay. When Rodney's in Questionable filming those first lines. I mean, I would say that too. If I felt like if we were filming and you rolled away from the switch flip Manny and you were like, I saw you had a look in your eyes, I would say keep going. Yeah. Because if you land a trick after that, that's an all-time line.
Right.
If you don't,
6 stars.
You got the trick.
Yeah.
6 stars.
10 stars. 10 stars.
Extra stars.
Yeah.
Extra stars.
Yeah.
So, virtual reality, all this stuff. It's a fight with Carroll. Everything's good now. You guys are good. But at one point in time, Mike Ternasky passes away.
Yes.
Right. Tragic car accident.
Yeah.
He was on his way to he was on his way to work one morning.
Yep.
I think even Jeremy Ray was staying at his house that day
Yeah.
that had happened.
Yeah.
These guys had already left Plan B to form Girl.
Yep.
Everything's cranking away.
Yep.
Are you guys working on Secondhand Smoke at the time? Or when does this...
Those guys leave in the summer, right? Virtual comes out June 12th. Mike gets married June 19th. I just know those dates because my birthday is June 20th. Mike and I have our car trip. We're talking about the future. Those guys quit. the next time I see Mike is at the SF contest where they're wearing all their stuff, but they had already quit before then.
Okay.
You know, and he was like, yeah, man, he's like, dude, we got Jeremy Ray, Roddy Bertino. He's like, yeah, we're good. Like we're just going to just come hard. I mean, he was hurt, you know, I remember him calling me and he just was like, I don't understand. He's like, I don't understand why they wanted to leave. And I really genuinely believe that from him. Like, you know, like if you were like, you know, I really want to do this thing and you had a friend like Mike, you would do that thing. Because Mike would go, you know what? I know you can do it, Chris. And he'd suss you out to know if you were made of it.
Sure.
He didn't push people who were incapable of being pushed or getting to that next plateau. You know? He saw what he saw in you, and then he would help give you a nudge and give you a direction. And yeah, he was super young and he was somewhat manipulative in some of those ways. I don't think he destroyed people's lives that he touched. I think all of those people were incredibly successful, not because of Mike, but in part because of being a part of something and having that guy in their corner.
Sure.
Yeah.
And anyone who had Mike in their corner who I've met has gone on to do pretty great things and has a really lovely guardian angel over their shoulder. So I think he was like, okay, like I'm not looking back.
Right.
Okay. I'm upset that this happened, but I'm looking forward. And he always was looking at new skaters, always, you know, and they put Pat Shanito on the team. They put Jeremy Ray on the team. They put Ronnie Bertino on the team. And then everything else is kind of moving forward. I'm in Northern California at this point. I go to De Anza Junior College. I take a film course because him and I are talking about doing this film thing, and I get my 1 credit. Okay. I'm able to translate the credit from that. So I get my degree. Okay. I don't like get a diploma. I get like a certificate of graduation so that I've completed high school. And then I start applying to college and I start applying to these film schools and they're filming. They're filming now,
okay.
Right? So they're filming and he's like calling me saying, fuck, dude, this kid, Jeremy Ray, I think he's going to be like the next Pat Duffy. Like, this kid's amazing. Now, by the way, I remember Jeremy Ray's Sponsor Me tape from Venture in those days.
Yeah.
Or from New Deal, somewhere around there. I actually have Jeremy's in my storage. Okay. I have Jeremy's Sponsor Me tape amongst many others. And he was just super psyched. And then he told me, he's like, and then there's this kid in the East Coast. He's fucking incredible. His name is Jim Greco, and I'm going to sponsor him. Damn. So he tells me about this kid, Jim Greco. I'm like, who's this? I only say that just because fucking who Jim Greco went on to be. And Mike, this is like spring of 94. He's like going to sponsor Jim Greco. And they're filming all the time. And they went up to the Slam City, to the Vancouver contest. At this point, Mike really became a man of faith, and his wife, very religious, really has a strong spirit with her. And, you know, their partnership, you know, grew based on what he found in that for him. And so he kind of was looking at Vancouver as an opportunity. Obviously, Vancouver is kind of a historical place for Plan B, and that Colin and, you know, Rick are there. And he looked at that trip as to be able to work through some stuff with them, to have a conversation with them, to tell them he forgives them, that he's good, that he's totally good. And so he goes up on that trip, tries to talk to them. I'm not certain. I know the story, but I don't remember it in this moment. But I'm not sure. I think he talked to Rick, may not have talked to Mike. And he was like, okay, great. I've like done what I can do. Like, I forgive them. I just want them to know that I forgive them. I want them to know that I forgive them. And then he's on the plane back with Danny, and he tells that thing to Danny. He says, if this plane crashed right now, I'd be okay.
Right.
He's like, I feel like I've kind of said the things that I need to say. Like, I feel we got the company back on track. We got a great team. You know, his wife at this point was pregnant. So he's like, you know, everything's fucking good. Yeah. And, they had a great trip. He felt good about it, and they're on their way home. And then, Jeremy stays with them that night. He gets up. And for me, I'm convinced that he was like, because we would call each other after a trip like that. I'm convinced that he was like, going to call me back or something like that on his way to work. And he was making a left-hand turn on Poway Boulevard off of Springbrook Drive. And there was like a 65-year-old woman who had dropped her grandchild off at preschool. And it's kind of a long turning corner where if you weren't paying attention, you just wouldn't see the stoplight. And she just T-boned him. And he died instantly. Wow. And his brother-in-law, who was working at Plan B over that summer, was driving and drove past the accident. Oh, and he had this white Lexus, or I think was it Lexus or a Accord? Maybe it was a big white car, and he saw Mike's body being taken from that car. And I was at home in Palo Alto, and Pete Thompson was doing something with Slap or something. I just remember Lance Dawes got me the Beastie Boys tape, Ill Communication. And I back in the day, like if you get a tape before it drops.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So I got it before it came out. I have that tape in, and the phone rings, and it's like Mike's cousin Joel, who I know through Mike. And he's like, "Hey Jake, I just wanted to tell you Mike died this morning." I was like, "What? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like this dude's, like, you talk about personality, magnet. I mean, he's the fucking man. He's the juice, as he would say." And I couldn't process that at all. Right. So I'm actually glad I've gone through my story in the way that I've gone through it, because death is such it is a meat cleaver through your consciousness, and everything stops, and then you're like mortally alive and awake, and then you have to live with that.
Right.
And like where they say, like, death is not for the dying, death is for the living, right? Like we're all the ones that have to deal with it. He's on his journey. And for me, it was, everything. Time stopped. I was numb. I didn't know what to do with myself. My dad was at work, and he came home, sat on a bench with me out in front of the house. Like, you're talking about the guy that was like so alive, like you're fucking champion in your corner.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, he just doesn't exist. And in my head, I was like, he's in the hospital. I'm going to go down and see him, and we're going to be okay. Like, he's not dead. He's like kind of dead, but they're going to like not make him that dead, because when you've never dealt with death before, you have this irrational thing because you can't process that notion of someone not existing. And so, I just didn't know what to do. I rented a movie from Blockbuster, I think of Bronx Tale.
Okay.
Watched like 1 minute of that movie, and to this day, I've never really listened. I think I listened to the Ill Communication once during the pandemic. I listened to it from beginning to end. Never could listen to it again, and I've never watched that movie. And the next day, I was on a plane for San Diego, and when I got to Mike's house, it was as dark and somber as it was, and I think for me, like, that's not to connect it to Waiting for Lightning and making the movie with Danny, but like that was the moment where I saw something in Danny that I'd never seen before. And I remember we went to the viewing of Mike's body, which I highly regret doing. And I went and Danny, I walk out of the viewing and I was like, that wasn't my friend. Like, I was like, that was not Mike. He looked very weird, and I've never seen anything like that. And I hadn't. And I walk outside, and Danny's sitting there, and that's Danny Way, right? The street Danny. This is post-virtual reality Danny, right? And he had his injury, and he looked at me, and with an emptiness that shook me, and he just said, "Jake, what are we going to do?" He said, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" And I was like, that's Danny Way. I filmed him doing all these things, and all of a sudden you're just looking at the world through, you're so much older in those moments, but you just don't have the maturity to deal with it, right? You kind of catch back up to it. And then, I went home to his house, and I pulled out his planner, And I called everyone in the planter and, kind of just shared the news and tried to say it in a way that was respectful to him and that he would have been glad that I did. And I remember I called Jim Greco. And I remember I saw Jim Greco many years later and I was like, do you remember that? And he remembered it. And it was like, but it was important for me to kind of be a friendly voice and a safe voice to share that with people. But I went right into what can I do? You kind of go into autopilot in those moments. Very shortly after that was the funeral. I remember speaking at the funeral and being a pallbearer. I remember we buried him and Brian Lottie was there, and Brian had been on some crazy trip to Hawaii, and felt like a time warp. I think Mike and Rick were at the funeral. They were in the back. They didn't feel comfortable talking to any of us.
I was there as well.
Okay. Yeah. So you remember. Yeah. It was incredible. And then we went to kind of the event afterwards, and Colin's dad didn't corner me. I'm not saying it in that way, but that's the phrase, right? He kind of cornered me. He's like, Jake, you really need to finish this video. We really need to make sure that you'll finish this video. This video will be really important for the company to do it. And I was like, I'm going to college. Mike wrote my letter of recommendation to college. I'm like ready to go to college in the fall. I'm like, I don't know that I can do this. I was also like cooked from virtual, but now my guy's not there. And I'm like, can I do this without him? I don't know what the fuck I can do. And you just sort of lose, I just lost my guy. And I was just pretty lost. And I wasn't too self-abusive at that point. I think I was just depressed, and it was just like really hard to wrap your head around. And then I think a couple months passed, and Mary, his wife, really made an incredible effort to kind of retain what he had built and to kind of like, Danny talked a bit about this. So I won't be too redundant with what he said, but there was an effort to kind of keep it together and have some continuity, right? Continuity is super important in life. And then I guess I kind of got to a point I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll edit the video. And we worked out a deal, and it was funny. I was like, I don't want to be paid. I just want to make royalties. Okay. I was like, so if I make a great video, that's all. Right. Then I want to be rewarded for that. And Mike would have been stoked that I said that. Yeah. And they had just kept filming that summer. Jeremy Ray, Jason Dill came up to Palo Alto. I filmed them a little bit. I was working at a restaurant, getting ready to go to film school. I go to film school in Boston, and then it's Christmas time. Spend Christmas with my family in Palo Alto. The day after Christmas, I fly to San Diego, arrive, on Boxing Day, and I stay in Mike's condo. And there's like all these pictures on the wall because they had like a Christmas party, and so it's like him with his hat, and like I remember I just turned 21 in June of that summer, and I remember I went to the store and I bought like a fifth of vodka, like a Smirnoff little thing, and I remember I just was like, okay, all right, and then I was like, okay, now just all right, start going through the footage. Okay, great. Okay, so all right, and then Matt, all right, who's going to start? Okay, Pat Shaneda starts. Okay, great. And Jeremy was around a lot. Paul Luna, I think, is Jeremy's friend. Jeremy and Pat are very close. And again, Mike, the editing room, everyone was allowed to be there. Right. You could be there. And, of course, like you, what do you think, John? Are you feeling this music? Yeah, you're feeling good. So there's a lot of like confirming, I'm like alone cutting this thing. No one's helping me edit it, but you're making sure that everyone's feeling comfortable with the decisions. And it just sort of found itself. I believe the video premiered January 5th. That's my recollection. It's like January 5th, 6th, or 7th, we premiered Secondhand Smoke. And I started it on December 26th. And I remember drinking half of the Smirnoff on New Year's Eve alone in Mike's condo. As people would come, they would never, I don't remember them staying the night. They would just come, and I was living there alone. Wow. And then I just was like, of course I had a great relationship with the guys in Hyro. So it's like, and Ronnie. So remember, like I filmed Ronnie for Think in the Venture videos. Like Ronnie and I go way back. And I think he's arguably one of the most underrated, underappreciated skaters from that time.
Talented.
1000%.
I mean, that dude did what? Switch frontside 360 heel flip down the little 3 at EMB in 1992. Like
so much
like
shit.
so much shit.
So much shit.
Nollie, double back foot heel flip, right?
Oh yeah, I remember you.
Like there's anyway. But it was cool, right? Coming way back, like full circle, like I'm editing a Ronnie part in Secondhand Smoke and all this stuff, and then for me, like the story will dovetail there because it's sort of what I'm most proud of, and Jeremy's talked about it a little bit, but it was like, when Mike said to me, like Duffy's part wasn't going to be what it was, like we just didn't have it that. So I remember picking the Vince Giraldi music, right? He had the Charlie Brown music in his part. And that felt cool because he wasn't going too heavy and he wasn't going too big. And then with Jeremy's part, it was like, I felt really kind of intimidated. Like, fuck, man. Like Mike said, like he's the next Pat Duffy. It's like this part has to kind of live up to the promise. And what I remember is we narrowed it down to 2 songs. And it was White Room, and I don't remember the other song. Jeremy has a pretty good memory, so he should remember it. And we decided White Room. Yeah. And then it was like, we did that thing with Questionable where we just fucked people up with the opening, and that was really great. And he had that frontside 180 flip at Carlsbad, and it was like, that's kind of the fucking gnarliest clip. Like that's the fucking, I mean, the frontside 360 is fucking insane. But the frontside 180 flip is like, that's incredible. And I knew we had 2 angles of it. And Mike and I would do this sometimes where we would put something in regular motion and then put a slow-mo version in later but that was a different camera, so you'd never repeat it. Okay. But you kind of got the trick. And I remember just watching that and being like, where does this fit in this fucking part? And then I was like, why don't I fucking just start with it? Just start with that line. And then that song was so rhythmic. And we'd started doing that dun dun with Danny's part. And it was like, and Mike and I always tried to kind of push towards synchronizing things, but land the frontside flip. And the moment you hear that music, the part's going to start. Right. Because at that point you're like, what the fuck's going on? And that's the best thing, right? Yeah. That's storytelling. You're like, wait, what's going to happen? And then it's like, what? And then you see Colin put his hands on his head, and then it's like, boom. And then it's like, okay, next hammer, boom. Yeah. And then next hammer, boom. And then it was like, boom. And then it was like the bridge, and then the drum, boom. And he lands the nollie flip on the, or he goes into the Carlsbad line, and it's like in the rhythm. And then that kind of dictated the rhythm, like right away. It's like, okay. And then I looked at the bridge in the song, and was like, oh, same thing. Dum, and then grinding sound. Dun, grinding sound. Dun, grinding sound. And for me, it was like, okay, now I know if you're watching this, because I'm feeling it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, and we know we're going to end with that frontside flip. Like when you saw it, you saw, I think, is it slow or regular at the beginning? I know it's slow at the end. But you're going to see it at the end to really wrap it all up.
Right.
And then it just felt like, for me, looking back on it, and I've reflected on this a lot, it's like, I felt like that was I was like, thank you, Sensei. Yeah. This is my offering for you. Sure. And I felt like I felt like I carried the torch through that moment for Mike. I felt like I delivered for Mary and for the team. And I literally, we did all the titles and the slow-mo and finished the video. We premiered it in San Diego. My buddy Addison, old skate crew friend, was at the premiere, drove me to the airport, was on a red-eye flight back to Boston that night. And then I don't think they ever really paid me what they were supposed to. But I say that all to say, like, that was the times and that was the thing. But I was like, my work is done. Right. And I felt like Danny and I had an insane session at night. We were filming that vert stuff together where he did cab heel flip on the vert ramp. He did that massive backside ollie kick flip. Like that was just him and me and a couple of his friends on the deck, like just trying to get clips for him.
Crazy.
And then for me, I was done.
I was just about to ask, the flight home must have been like, well, that's it. That's the last thing
100%.
that I'm going to do for plan B.
No. The last thing I'm going to do in skateboarding.
Wow.
I was like, you asked me earlier about saying no. I think Gonz's company was 60-40.
Yep.
They asked me to, and I don't know if Mark asked me, but the guy who was running his company was a friend who skated in the Bay Area with us, and he called me after Mike died that summer and was like, hey, would you make the 60-40 video for us? And I was like, no. And
that was like you decided you're like, I'm done with skating anything.
After Mike died,
yeah.
Because it took me a long time to come around to making secondhand smoke, I was just like, I'm just done. Like my advocate. Like again, I had a guy in my corner who was like, that dude took me out to dinner after I had a pretty fucking gnarly situation, and he brought levity to it and he supported me. And then we're talking about going to film school and making movies together and like starting a company that makes things together. And I was a part of that. There's nothing like, believe me, I love skateboarding. It defines me to this day. I felt and at times feel incredibly guilty because of that lifer skate mentality of if you're not in it, you're not core, you're not this. And I've slowly learned to understand my contribution and then my ability to continue to like share history, stories, significance, and just keep that contribution, but it's not about taking credit. It's about telling stories. Who was there? No, that's not the person that filmed that. No, if you post that, you need to tag the fucking filmer.
Yes.
That shit. It
drives me crazy.
Oh, I was
sure
gonna
all
ask
of
you that
us
too.
Tag
stupid.
the filmer. Tag the photographer. Anytime someone tags me in a clip, if it's not me, I'll say it's probably Mesa, could be Sloshbach, could be Sock, and tag them in the comments. Like, we know you're recycling content that you're stoked on. But the least you can do is shout out the guy who probably didn't get paid to film it in the first place. And was maybe picked on by the guys that...
Where's my round of applause button?
Yeah,
right. No,
I'm here for the filmers.
For real.
You know? But I got on that plane and then I met Panama Dan in Boston and filmed his 411 part, and Will Harmon, who was a friend of Pete Thompson. I was like, but what happened there is Mike's brother Joe was a software engineer at Adobe. And I'm sure you've experienced when someone very close to you dies, you go to the friends.
Right.
And then when two friends are together, they generate the feeling that you haven't had with the friend who can't generate that feeling anymore. So me and Joe hung out a ton right after Mike died. And Joe lived in Palo Alto. So I saw him all the time. And Joe was like, Jake, you're really good at this editing stuff. You should think about Adobe and working for Adobe. I was like, okay. So I'm like, well, okay. So I'm like, don't have a college degree. I'm like in college. And I told Adobe, like, this is me. And their
this is me.
Like, their QA department like wouldn't hire me because I didn't have a college degree.
Oh.
But Joe was in the engineering department, and the engineering department was like, this is like this 21-year-old kid who's fucking tons of editing experience, is like in the trenches making shit. And they're like, you're hired. Wow. So I get hired by Adobe. And Joe and I are connecting, and I go to film school and I bring my Adobe equipment to film school. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to start non-linear editing skateboard videos now.
That was the first time?
For me, yeah. It was around the same time that I won't claim that I did that the first, because Media Composer was being used. And I know Josh Friedman, I know Mesa, and some of them were using a Media Composer to edit skate videos.
Yeah.
But I edited Panama Dan's part and Will Harmon's part on my computer.
Okay.
And then I sent them, one of those SideQuest big fat platter drives, and
So wait, what was your role at Adobe?
I just transitioned into basically what would be like a development tester. So I would use the unreleased version of the software and edit with it to find the bugs.
Okay.
And then I had such a strong ability to articulate how I was using the software and what I was doing with it, that Adobe started sending me out to projects, films, and things that were using Adobe software that an expert needed to be there.
You could teach them.
I became an Adobe Premiere expert. I wrote 2 books about Adobe Premiere. It's about 750 pages each book. They're like full-on tutorials.
Wow. Adobe for Dummies or something like that.
It was called Adobe Premiere Pro Studio Techniques.
Okay.
Amazing.
And then I did
published author.
Yeah. And then I did also online, or not online, it was DVD video training as well. So there's a company called Total Training that was screen recording you while you were using the software to teach people how to use it. So I would go to trade shows all over the world. I would do this. And I sort of had these golden handcuffs. Got out of film school, was making music videos, doing little short films. And then I was consulting for Adobe, making really good money, teaching people how to use the software. Man. And my brain was just wired for that problem solving and that technical stuff. So, I mean, if you were in nonlinear editing in the early days in the 90s, like, your skill set is rich. Like, you're like, how do we capture this? Well, you got to have a hard drive that spins fast enough and it's connects here and the data rate has to be right and blah, 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 blah. And you're sort of, holding all these concepts together.
Did you enjoy doing all that?
I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. And it sort of parlayed into starting, that company when we met and doing some amazing work there. But it's exhausting.
I'm sure.
Like, post-production work is exhausting. It is incredibly rewarding. You guys know that like you guys have been doing this for a long time. The first time you guys kind of like figured it out, you felt really fucking good.
100%.
And then when it was done and the episode went out, like, no one sees this. No one. They just see a really great finished result. But they don't know, like, when you upgraded the mics or when you made this choice here, but you guys know.
Yeah.
And then when you got the switcher and you got the thing and you got that, and it's like every one of those little milestones is like, for you, you're like, dude, I could feel that I'm inching forward on this.
100%, 1,000%.
So when you're in those technical worlds, you build such a band of brothers, a camaraderie amongst all the people around you, that it's really intoxicating because it's really stimulating. Yeah. But it also, like, when you work in post, you work till the job's done.
Yes.
Yes. And so I would say it took a lot out of me. I probably was like my heaviest and my sort of most self-deprecating during some of those times. But you're also not moving. You're also, and then it's like, no, this is wrong. And then you have to fix it.
Yeah.
But, you learn all these skills along the way that kind of, like, when you move up or move on to something else that you really want to do, you're better at that.
Sure.
From having that
in
the background.
Did you miss skating at all at this point?
There's a period of time where I didn't watch skate videos. And then I remember watching them again. Like, Yeah, Right. Sort of prior to Yeah, Right, it's spotty.
Okay.
And then when Yeah, Right comes, like, I had that. I had certain videos. And then, but there's that weird thing, right? Like, skateboarding makes you feel bad if you're not in it. And it doesn't do that intentionally. It's that feeling that you have.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, wait, but I'm not there. And it's like, dude, like, if you fucking skated, you skated. If you were a part of something and got something out of that, you skated. And, for me, like, I never think of myself not as a skateboarder, ever. But it's also like, there was a luxury to kind of like all of a sudden, like, I would see people and I'd be like, wow, that's fucked up. I'm just like, wow, if I like apply a real work, hat. I've been in the trenches on these jobs with these corporations and on film sets and doing this work. And I go over here and look at skateboarding. I was like, wow, but it gives me more perspective about what I was a part of when I was there.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Right. It's great, man. It's great. And then, so after that, the Adobe thing, shortly thereafter, you did the movie with Danny.
Yeah. So
Waiting for Lightning.
Adobe sort of paved the way for me to be able to have a stake in starting a company called Bandito Brothers.
Yes.
And I had 3 partners there, two of which were sort of really big advocates of the post-production work that I had done.
Okay.
And they sort of brought me in as the, as what's the title? Head of technology. It's like not IT, but I ran post.
Okay.
And I sort of developed a post-production pipeline. It's super technical and I'm super proud of it, but it's like just a whole other wash of stuff. But suffice to say, I figured out how to make feature films on a computer, edit them on a computer, using a file format that could then be printed to film without losing resolution or quality.
Okay.
And Adobe backed me to finish a movie for these guys called Dust to Glory about the Baja 1000 road race. So Adobe pays me to be there to work for them. And we printed this film. I built I didn't build the system. I had a guy that worked with me that did the physical building of the systems, but I managed everything and designed the workflows and the process. Where does this file go? Where does this file go? Blah, blah, blah. And then eventually it's a film that's released in theaters on a 35 millimeter print. And this is like 2005.
Okay.
So I was very early in the curve of what would be referred to as a digital intermediate. Even though there were digital intermediates before that, they weren't utilizing this type of compression video technology. Okay. Everyone knows what ProRes is today.
Sure.
Okay. In 2005, no one knew what ProRes was. They were like compressed files. Right. They just think that's a JPEG. And it's like, well, actually, there are very intelligent algorithms that compensate for things and blah, blah, blah. And they would say, oh, you can't make a film print out of a compressed file. And it's like, okay, watch this. What did that look like to you? And they're like, well, that looked good. That was film. It's like, yeah, that was film after video was transferred to it. Like
wow.
So anywho, so I had a partnership in that company. And those guys knew my background in skateboarding. Mikey and I reconnected. And then I think it was Salman who was doing something with Danny's manager. And then I got back in touch with Danny, and it was like the weirdest thing. It was like, he's like, dude, I'm at this hotel, the SLS hotel or whatever. He's like, come out. Like Salman was supposed to be there, but Salman couldn't be there. Salman, I think, was doing that skateboard magazine or whatever. And I go there and it's like, dude, what's up, man? Danny, dude. Oh my God, it's been so long. Like we hadn't seen each other in person, since the second Smoke premiere.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, we're catching up. He's like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm a partner in this company and we're making movies and all this stuff. And he's like, cool, yeah, I want to make this documentary about my life. And at the beginning, it wasn't that. It was like he wanted to do these like massive stunts, massive mega ramp type of stuff. It was like, that's cool. That sounds amazing. That also sounds really expensive. So, but my partners who were like former stuntmen who were making action movies were like, this is great. This could be really interesting. Maybe we can find a partner to support the movie. And I kind of kept in touch with Danny, followed up with him, and then was like, I think we need to kind of like, I think I just need to film you again. And he's like, okay, well, the X Games is coming up. Why don't you just come to the X Game and film at the X Games? I was like, cool. So I took like one of these new Sony HD cameras and I just, fucking jerry-rigged the mic to the top and went down to the Staples Center in 2008. X Games 14, I think it was, or something like that. And if you've ever seen Danny Way at X Games 14, you would know what was in store for me. I go in and I'm filming him the day before. He bails his first run. It was like, okay. And then his second run, he goes up for a 540 and he miscalculates off the lip and he fucking goes 20 feet straight to his shins, flips over to the bottom of the ramp. And I'm like, even if I'm filming, I was like, oh. But I was like, I can't stop filming. So I'm with him and I have my pass and my credentials in it. So I'm just following him. He goes inside the medical area and he's gone. We're like, what the fuck is this guy? Okay. He comes out and he's just like fucking glazed over. Like he's just, he kind of sees me, but he's so in the moment. And it's like, he's just got to get up for this run. And so he goes and, he gets back up to the top. It's like, he's been in there so long and now it's time for his run. He fucking goes, he lands his run. Oh my God. Right. Then the next run goes again. bails. Again, another super gnarly bail. Snaps his head back. Super gnarly. He's just totally out of his mind. Just like one more time, goes, lands his run. Bob wins the contest, which was kind of like a great story. You know, that's kind of Danny. You know, he creates these situations that have a high pressure cooker to them. He implodes, and then he overcomes the adversity, and it's like this just amazing thing. And you're just witnessing resilience, perseverance, all these fucking, you're witnessing pure humanity. Now, I am not stopping filming him. And at the end of the night, he's like in the tunnel, lying, and he's crying. And it's just, he feels robbed. He didn't win. And I don't know if he should have won or not. I wasn't, but like, I mean, I wanted him to win. Like, I thought his performance was pretty spectacular. Mm-hmm. But there was something that happened that night. And it was like, I just saw something in him. And as a human, I was like, wow, okay. All right, let's do an interview. So then we go do an interview. And then I film him at his ramp. Rodney comes down to the ramp. Rodney and I reconnect at that time. So we start talking all the time. And we make this little like 20-minute clip, and we show it to DC at the La Paloma Theater, at the Spreckles Theater. And or not Spreckles downtown, the La Paloma Theater in
Encinitas.
In Encinitas. Yeah. That's where Questionable premiered and Secondhand Smoke. Virtual was La Jolla. And the guys from DC watched it, and they were just like, this is amazing. And then it was like crickets. Like another year passed, nothing happened. And I forget the guy's name. It might have been Tom Jones. It was someone who was at DC, and they left. And the last thing they did was green light, waiting for lightning.
Oh, really?
Wow. And they're like, okay, here's DC's budget, which helped us make it.
Wow.
And then, that journey was incredible. You know, when I was at Danny's ramp, there was a writer there who was writing for Men's Journal. Probably one of the best pieces written about a skateboarder and about Danny. And it was gnarly. Like went into all, the pain stuff that he was going through and all these, some of the sensitive topics, but it went there, and it actually painted a really great portrait of him. The writer's name was Brett Anthony Johnston, and Brett and I just totally clicked, right? Kind of sideline guys who've been in the culture, been around it, but intellectually we were like so stimulated. And as the movie started to develop, it's like, hey, Brett, would you be interested in maybe writing the documentary? And then now we got a fucking writer. I mean, Brett is a novelist of incredible proportions and prowess. He's an amazing human, amazing skater, but he understood Danny. So now we start assembling this team. Yogi Proctor, who's been in the skate business for a long time, his wife Carol Martori was my editor. So Carol understood skating. She's a woman. I really wanted to have a woman in the editing room and have that perspective and throttle, all of that. And we just, started the process of making the movie. And really the revelation was that we started with this kind of template of that X Games. We made this 20-minute film about the X Games. It's really amazing. And then it turned into a movie about China. And we Carol really helped push towards China and saying China's the way in. And there was a movie that came out called Man on Wire about the guy that.
Oh my God!
Walked
across the World Trade Center.
So, but the structure of that movie is, let's say it's 5 acts, 5 pieces. Well, the first act is the heist, where you just kind of tease what's going to happen.
Sure.
And they tease it at the beginning of Man on Wire. You're like, oh shit. And then the next 3 acts, they're like building you back to the heist. And then in the 5th act, now you just live in the moment. It's happening in real time.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you tease the Great Wall of China.
Right.
Then you go back and tell the origin story. You contextualize all this, ambition and pain and trauma and all this stuff. And then you live in China in that 5th act. So we sort of, we used that structure from Man on Wire. It was so effective. And that's what you do in films. You kind of look for all of those things that work, and then you find your way with the material that you have. and Waiting for Lightning, that's how we structured the film. And it was, for me, it was like a kid in the candy store. I got to sit down with Tony and Christian,
amazing,
everyone.
Wait, so you were going into it thinking, okay, let's do the China is like the main part, but you guys didn't know that hadn't happened yet?
No, that happened. That was all
okay.
archived. Actually, we went into it thinking X Games was going to be the thing because X Games was so amazing.
Right.
And what we failed to see was that, not we, because Carroll didn't, and Brett to a certain extent didn't either. But I was so enamored with X Games, probably because I filmed it and I saw the humanity there. China is the bigger story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Sure.
and by the way, like that was the film that we wanted to make. You can grow up and have a fucking really shitty childhood, really shitty. And you can find something that you can speak through without your voice. And then that thing will lead you to challenge yourself and change that thing in order to satiate your need to use not this voice, but that other voice. And that will take you to one of the oldest things on earth and stop work for an entire country to watch you do this thing that, that satiates this rumbling. All the gnarly dudes have crazy existential shit, I believe. And all their skating and all that stuff, that's the processing of it. That's
insane.
And Danny, I think, is an incredible human being for his ability to have seen skateboarding in a different way and have pushed it in that direction.
Totally. Wow. How long did the project take?
Took once we started it, it was 18 months.
Okay. That's not bad.
No.
That's not bad.
No. But it was like 4 years prior to that.
Sure.
And we were fortunate. We got into South by Southwest. The movie got picked up by Samuel Goldwyn Films. We got released in movie theaters, and
beautiful. Beautiful. And now it's released on. It's digital download, right?
Yeah.
You
I think
download it on,
right now it's free on Prime.
Oh,
sick.
Amazon Prime. Go watch it.
Yeah, but it was
free.
It
was $4.99, man. Come on, what's going on?
I mean, you can buy it on iTunes, but
there you go.
Pretty sure
I think
everyone wants to watch
DVD.
it.
Still
Got the I got the DVD too. I just don't have a
Thank
DVD
you.
player. Fuck. I'm gonna watch it on Prime again.
I think you've had the Blu-ray.
The what?
Or it
you have
could
the
be. It
Blu-ray.
could be a Blu-ray.
I got the Blu-ray.
You have the Blu-ray.
I don't have a Blu-ray player.
That's the problem.
Shit.
I still got mine.
I got Amazon Prime now.
I have a question about editing coming from a skateboarder's perspective.
Yeah.
Like, is it hard for a filmer editor to make it in like the movie world as just being a skateboarder photographer or videographer?
I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that question because it's like I feel like I'm still on my path.
Yeah.
I think that talent is undeniable.
Because you said real quick, you were like, yeah, Adobe wasn't going to hire you because you didn't have a degree, right? But then you have someone that could back you, like, no, that's it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the film business is like that. Like any creative endeavor is like that, right?
For sure.
Like, I mean, you guys get to do this now on a regular basis, right? Like you built something to the point where it becomes undeniable. And I think talent is the same way, that when you're a creative person who has ambition and has goals, like if you just really focus in on that thing and do that thing, not with disregard for everyone else, but like maybe there's a couple people that you allow in your momentum, area. I just have never seen people who like put their energy in the right way in the right place not be successful. I know there's that thing, bad things happen to good people. I just have also witnessed a lot of things in my life where like I've seen people work really hard and I've seen people be successful and be rewarded for that. Mm-hmm. The first thing we talked about was timing.
Yeah.
So like, by the way, like, I've had many ambitions to make a feature film by now. I haven't. Okay. Well, I could be critical about that, or I could keep working towards doing that. Mm-hmm. And like, and just not taking an L, but just saying it's still a work in progress. Now, at a certain point, you jump shit. Like once you have a family and those responsibilities, you kind of have to do what you have to do.
Right.
But I think like a skater, the way that skaters and filmers and all of those people translate to other industries, few people work as hard as skate filmers and skate photographers. The real ones, like all those, I mean, like Blayback. Blayback he doesn't say no. we're on a job together, and it's like, oh yeah, Mike can do that. Great. And then all of a sudden Ford's like working with a photographer. They've never had an attitude like that before.
Yeah.
People are so difficult, but skaters are just grateful to have the opportunity, but then there's that conflicted thing. Am I betraying the culture by getting out of it and like that? And it's like, no, like, dude, like you skate, like you come from that. You care about that. Like,
Exactly.
You're not turning your back by any means.
Yeah,
You got to live and fucking move on.
Make that money, boo boo.
There you go.
But there was a period of time where I would say every year I would get a call from a skate filmer or skate photographer that said like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
How did you get out of skateboarding and like still be okay?
Right.
And I would always just say like, dude, at some point you just got to jump. Like I didn't want to, I didn't go in thinking that way. I went in thinking Mike and I were going to build something together, and then he's gone. And then that, his death became a motivator. But you got to kind of find your way.
I mean, it is an industry that, it's hard to make a living. It's hard to cut out a living for a filmer, photographer, even a skateboarder for that matter too.
Bothers me a lot.
It does.
It bothers me a lot. And I think
we talk about it a lot on this show.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah. I think I remember when Ty and I met each other, my office for Bandito Brothers, my first office was down the street from his house when he was making Fully Flared.
Okay.
And he ended up coming over to my office, and that was when I started giving footage to Vice for the Cardiel episode and all the stuff. So I started going into my archive for the first time in a while. And then Ty and I were connecting and talking about, the old videos and all that stuff. And I didn't realize that he was there when he was there. I had like a photograph, this amazing photograph of Kareem and Tobin and all these interesting people. And there's like one dude in the photograph. I'm like, and I asked Ty, I was like, do you know who that is? And he's like, that's me.
Amazing.
It was the SF contest.
No way.
And it's like, it is totally Ty.
Isn't that crazy?
It was crazy. And it's just like I used to always just take photographs of people and stuff like that. And it's just like, he's right there in this lineup. Like Matt Beach is in the photo. And who's that filmer that has the same name as the skater? The Baker filmer guy.
Beagle. Josh.
Yeah.
Josh Beagle.
But his name is
Just
right.
Beagle.
Yeah.
And I remember just seeing how hard he worked.
Right.
I was like, man, like it's
Definitely
just
a
not
hard worker.
right. Like just other industries are not like that.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you don't stand up for yourself, you will get stepped on in other industries. But once you get to a certain place, there's a certain like understanding of what the budgets are. And in skateboarding, it's just like still to this day, it's just like,
It's kind of bizarre for sure, because at the end of the day, filmers and photographers are the most important thing besides a skateboarder. So it's like,
can you say that again? I'm just,
listen to these words.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Photographers and filmers are the most important thing besides a skateboarder. Real talk.
Video and photo pretty much built this industry.
It takes a village.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Yeah. And to that point, that's why my relationship with Mikey to this day, I really like appreciate that we're friends.
Yeah.
Like that we're really friends. Like I really care about him.
Yeah.
And when I see him with my kids and we babysat his dog, and I'm like, that's Mike Carroll,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frontside flips, like, come on, dude,
Bro.
hand in the, come on.
It's so crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's
Small
beautiful.
things,
It's beautiful.
But they're
It's a beautiful-
they're small things, but they're big. They're huge. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing about this thing we share is that it's so much. It is, and it is the greatest form of expression that we as humans have, because it's just this fucking thing. It's not even attached to you.
It's crazy.
The way you do it looks different than the way you do it, and the way I do it, and the way you do it. And I could like very happily just sit on my board and watch you do it, and, and be like, cool. And then when someone almost doesn't do it, it's like almost even better than when they did do it. And you're like, oh my God, like watching Cardiel skate. Like,
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Well, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for skateboarding and contributed, and definitely shaped me as a skateboarder.
Oh, wow.
Virtual reality being my Bible, and hearing you have a brawl with Carol in the middle of all that, editing Rick Howard's part is it's truly amazing.
Thank you.
I think it's awesome to hear your passion about it.
100%.
Like a lot of
Thanks.
skaters have that, but
we can't. Some people can't express it the way that you express it.
yeah, I
sure.
just made me happy to hear all these stories with your passion behind
Oh,
it.
good.
Because
Good.
you could tell that you love what you do.
That's the gift that Mike and Jim, those guys who were a part of shaping the right aspects of the culture, that's what they've done. Like Jim Thiebaud doesn't sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That guy says the right thing at the right time all the time. And I guarantee that the world is heavy for him because that's a big responsibility to be there in that way. Yeah. And I respect that. But like, man, that does a lot of good for a lot of people.
100%.
And the beautiful things that he's done in skateboarding to honor people, to be honest and vocal about causes and people and stuff. It's like, that's the stuff that to me today, like it's still there, seeing Lance Mountain skate, like it's still there, seeing Jeff Grosso's kid skate, it's still there, and it, I think what's wonderful is we're at this point now where skateboarding has matured to where we can see all of it in a complicated way and in a beautiful way. Like the women skateboarding now, like that's the shit that's most interesting to me.
Me too.
Because because like all the dudes care about this thing that they've always cared about. These girls, they don't give a fuck. They're like doing their thing. And by the way, that's skateboarding.
Yeah.
So when you want to hate on that, like, what is that? Like fuck those Olympics. That girl showed up with the all white outfit. I was like, oh my, like,
yeah.
She turned out like, that was amazing. And I'm watching that with my kids.
Yeah.
And that girl did that front crook
Yeah.
on that rail. And my daughter was like, Papa, that looked like a really hard trick. And I was like,
You're like,
Really
yes, it's a
scary
really
and by the
hard
way,
trick.
she did it hella clean.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. That thing was huge, bro.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Huge.
Beautiful.
I love it, man. I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that we talked about it before.
Yeah.
I think you need to come back for a stop and chat.
Yeah, I'd
you need
love
to
to.
bring your old tapes because listen, some of the
wow.
stuff that he sends, and listen, go follow. I'm telling everybody here, go follow your Instagram because it's fucking amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
You post all kinds of old stuff. You go through your old tapes.
Yep.
And I mean, it's the type of shit that as a kid, I mean, it's rad seeing it now, but as a kid, if I could see all that stuff,
Yeah.
it's like I could see that stuff that like from Love Child, like didn't get used or
Oh, yeah.
Plan B.
Yeah.
It's like I would have been
dude,
over the moon, dude.
the video of you filming Rodney doing the dark slide.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what the like to see, you were filming him think about it.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like he cavemaned onto it at first.
Yeah.
Like, had it sticking there and
That's such like a cool thing to see.
You got to promise us
You
now.
really see how his brain works in the
like,
moment,
Because all we would all see back then was just the land.
Yeah,
And you see some funny stuff here and there.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that was really cool to see.
You got to promise us, right? You'll come back, bring some tapes, and we will scouts over
whatever.
the heart
I'm
and
not
scout.
I'm not a scout.
Me neither. I don't know. But I take it. Yeah.
I brought you guys.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Come on.
I asked you some questions like Jake. Who are your guys from a certain
Jake
thing? I was really honored that you guys.
Wait a minute. That was a long time ago. You asked us this.
I mean, maybe not that long ago. Let's see. Who
Was
the
it a
first
week
one-
ago?
let's
No.
see.
Yeah, he asked me last week.
Really?
Yep.
So this
I
one
didn't get that text.
is my good friend Andrew Huberman.
Oh, shit.
And C-Rob, this is for you. I know
That's
you're
for
such a
me?
big fan of Andrew.
I
And
am.
it's very rare to have a photograph of him. He's doing a
That's-
360 flip on a freestyle board.
That's so rad.
And
Look at that. Andrew Huberman?
right,
That's amazing. It's tight.
Roger, you had
good,
asked
bro.
for a Javante photo, so I got the Vision ad.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
hell yeah.
Okay. The back lip.
I tried to find stuff that I haven't ever really printed before.
That's amazing, bro.
And then now, you two were like Guy and Mikey, so I printed a couple photos. This is a photo of Mike Carroll doing a nose one side at EMB. Okay, so you can fight over. I'll put them down, then you can see.
Okay,
This is a photo
okay.
I've never posted before. I have a lot of stuff I've never posted. This is Guy doing kickflip backside grab at the Quartermaster Cup at Am Jam.
Love that. What shoes are you wearing? Etnies?
He's wearing Airwalks.
Airwalks.
Were you at that one, Jerron?
No.
No,
didn't
you were
make
at
that
that
one.
And then And then there's also this guy photo of a backside ollie tail at Berkeley Banks when we were filming.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Sick.
And then the last guy photo.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay, here is the nose blunt side from that trip.
Spitfire. Is that a Spitfire shirt on?
Yeah, he's wearing that Spitfire shirt.
Dude.
But again, this to me is like it's actually a good thing, right? Like that's Andrew's garage.
Yeah.
Filming him.
Amazing.
And I'm like, he's a muse, right? I would shoot photos of my friends, learning.
Okay.
And then we go here to the Quartermaster Cup.
Yeah.
And then I end up in LA here. And then the guys come to film the blind video. They stay at my house. Fucking gone stayed at my house.
Crazy.
And then, and there's the Javante thing. So, and then Mikey, of course,
That's incredible, bro.
So these are all for you guys. And
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel very
you, Jacob.
honored
So
to.
much.
This is so cool.
I almost
definitely.
want a guy. I want a guy photo.
You can have a guy photo. There's some to choose from, but you're gonna have to,
We can figure it out. Regardless.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I thought you
it's-
did. I thought you did ask us
since the one
a
right
long
here.
when you were gonna first come on the show.
Yeah,
Didn't
maybe-
you ask us?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because I didn't get no
probably.
text a couple weeks ago.
No, you didn't get. No, I texted you last week and just was like, no, I didn't text you because I knew I was getting you Andrew because I know you love Andrew.
Okay. He's my new favorite person.
I mean, how
He's
can
my
he
new
not
favorite
be?
person.
I mean, everyone who discovers him
I
feels
swear
like
to God,
they discovered something.
when I didn't know. Listen, the Jenkum thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need that guy on the
like-
show.
Yeah.
100%. And now we're texting back and forth. Like he's a cool man. He's the best, bro.
He is
Legend.
really.
Legend. I love it.
And it will only grow.
I love
Yes.
it, man. I am excited though for him and his success as
Yeah.
well because I mean, what did he say, Roger? He had his YouTube channel for like 6 months or something
Since January. this year.
Since January, he's got like 500,000 fucking subscribers. He's got like over 600K. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
the
Well,
growth.
and it just shows you how, and this is the thing about the pandemic that is the positive side. We're talking about things in a real way for the first time that we've always needed to talk about.
Sure.
Which is mental health, taking care of yourself, and like being in tune with your body, and not in a frou-frou way, but in a way that's like practical and applicable for people.
Man, listen, we're all here. We're all,
Yeah.
We're all,
Yeah.
anyway, man. Listen,
Dude,
thank you
are we
so
do-
much.
we're-
No, wait, whoa, bro. Whoa. Slow your roll, Jake the janitor, bro.
Thank you.
Kelly, will you grab Jacob some
bro.
Nine Club stuff if
Ooh,
we may?
let's go.
We don't have a lot. A lot of our stuff's tied up at Mike Mo's. We need to go get some shit, but at least give you a mug or something to take home.
A little mug.
Sure.
mug.
I,
Candle,
I-
little candle.
I love to drink coffee.
Oh yeah.
I drink a lot of coffee.
I love coffee.
I love coffee.
I love coffee. I love coffee so much that I even bought some decaf to bring here
Why?
because we film like it's 9 o'clock, and
Right.
I love to drink coffee during
Yeah.
these. So
Yeah.
I have 1 cup.
Yeah.
I have a big cup of coffee before we start, and while
Yeah.
while the first
Yeah.
hour's going.
Yeah.
And then I like a little decaf because I
Interesting.
cannot be
yeah.
drinking coffee
No,
this late, or else I'm going to be up till 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I can't drink coffee after noon. Like after that's my heart out. At
But see,
12
this is the
o'clock,
thing
it's my
though,
heart
is
out.
I need a little bit of pep when I'm doing these. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're working all day and doing shit. First of all,
You got your Immuni C.
I know. Listen, it's best in glass, salty,
How good is the skate face on?
bro.
So good.
I love that, dude. Does he know that you have that?
Yes.
Oh, he has one.
No.
Oh, okay, good,
No. That's a one of one.
good,
Chris.
good.
I'm just
gonna
look-
hold it.
I'm just looking over there, and my choice, if I
Yeah.
could have one of those,
Yeah.
would be the nose one at EMB.
Oh, that one?
Yeah. I love it.
Oh,
yeah.
that would be my choice.
Yeah.
You can have it. Take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Chihuahua.
I don't know. It's cool. I like. It's got that guy face.
This is
Yeah.
right here.
Well, that's that moment for him. So when you see it, it just. And again, that's what's
tongue
beautiful
out?
about skateboarding. It's like transporting.
What spot was that?
That's the Galleria Redondo Beach, technically.
Is that indoor?
Yeah.
Underground.
John,
That's
can
the
you
underground.
show it this way? I can't see the photo at all. Maybe for the viewers too.
There was he did a
sick.
Spitfire wheel with that, and they made a couple shirts for a limited period of time.
Sick.
This blunt. Oh man, that nose blunt slide is amazing.
Yeah, it's like, but again, it's like, it's a, in my book, it's a mediocre photo. It's like he's a little blurry, he's not perfectly sharp.
Yeah, but
you
it
know?
It's like
doesn't
it's that
matter.
Well, I-
spot, and it just looks
Yes,
sick.
but I'm
It-
saying
good
like
one.
when I go back and I laugh, about what I was able to do at that time.
Bro, what, you didn't use the Adobe Sharpen tool? What's going on, bro?
Everyone's
I did
wearing
not.
Airwalks at that time.
Did you get to film at Walgreens?
No, Long Strugs. Long Strugs was in Mountain View by the Tower Records that I go to.
Adobe Photoshop, I don't know if you're aware, they have a great like sharpen tool.
And like you just use it?
Yeah, you just say sharpen and it goes boom.
You say it like it takes verbal commands now?
Adobe's come a long way since you haven't worked for them.
Copy
okay.
that. Yeah.
Hey, first of all, bro,
Bro.
Jacob Rosenberg, thank you so much for coming by and chatting. And listen, again,
Thank you.
the viewers, if you come by and do a stop and chat, later on, we'll let this episode cool down
Yeah.
a little bit. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
let's do
saying?
it.
But you bring old footage with you.
You know what you should do is
Wow.
you should do a little poll before I come on. Maybe figure out what people,
God, I mean, listen,
right? Just make it a little interactive so give the people what they want.
I mean, that's amazing too. But I almost
Leave a
think
comment
that
below.
I almost think that whatever you bring is
Yeah.
going to be beyond sufficient.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You got any footage of me?
No.
Okay. Anyway,
No. You didn't start
Here's a-
skating until virtual.
I mean, yeah,
reality.
you should just literally leave a comment and let us know.
yeah. Leave a comment
Right
below.
below. Just
Okay.
leave it right now.
Who do you
on,
want to
on your
see?
page, on your
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
We're gonna get a lot of Guy Marianos. We're gonna get a lot of Mike Carrolls because we did talk about him in
A lot
the
of
episode.
cardio.
And then there's going to be like some
Cardiel.
Cardio.
C-Rob, like
C-
ha ha ha.
Oh yeah, some of that too.
A lot of
Anyway,
Rodney.
Dubs
do you have any-
footage.
Yeah,
Anyway,
did you
here's
guys
your
film?
mug.
There's some definitely, you're skating the world park sometimes when I
For
do
sure.
that. And for
But-
sure, like the airport, those small ledges, the brick ledges.
Oh, down the little hubbas?
Yeah, the mini.
Oh
hubbas.
yeah, fucking
Imperial
Imperial.
Hubba.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something from there.
There's got to be something.
Yeah.
That's
I got at least one clip with you. We got to
Dubs,
have
what
at
did
least
Maybe the
one
pond.
clip.
Maybe the pond. Remember in Santa Monica, the circular rink? Mm-hmm. I think you might have been there that night session with Tony Ferguson and Rick.
No, I don't think so.
Dubs, what'd you do down the Imperial Little Hubba?
What didn't I do? No, I don't remember.
okay.
I'm just
Switch
joking.
inward heel 5-0? Is that, did you?
Switch
Yeah,
inward
yeah,
heel for
yeah,
5-0, half cab heel
That's
flip
fucking
5-0.
sick,
tail
dude.
slide.
Super gnarly,
Like,
dude.
By the way, like how long is that? It's
fake
30
heel
years
flip
ago.
nose
Yeah.
tail slide.
You hardly see that trick to this day.
That was my first. That was the first Hubba I kickflip no slid.
Oh really?
Hell yeah,
Amazing.
it's a fakie.
Yes.
Nice.
Listen, coffee mug.
Thank you.
9 Club logo. There you go.
Actually,
This
I
is-
thought about buying these from you guys before when the show
Oh,
started.
you should have. We
And
were
you know
giving
what?
you a discount code.
No, but I actually am. I'm glad to have earned it.
There
Yes.
you go.
There we go.
I'll think
you
fondly
go.
of our time together.
We also have candles. It's a nice. My favorite LaCroix is pamplemousse. So it's a pamplemousse flavored LaCroix, scented LaCroix.
Amazing. Le Crob.
LaCroix. Yes.
Have you drank Waterloo yet? Have you tried
I
Waterloo?
love Waterloo. I love the grape Waterloo. I love grape Waterloo.
What
I don't
is
like
that?
grape Waterloo, but I love Waterloo.
It's sparkling water.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, really good. And of course, what would be a 9 Club without the old switch flip Manny?
Masterpiece.
Man, thank you. That was meant to slide a little further. Just kind of the friction of the table stopped,
Wow,
and I
this
didn't want to hit any of the photographs.
Yeah.
There's
you
a bit of
wanna
a
scratch the
zoetrope quality to this. It's really lovely.
Is what?
A zoetrope. It's an old film mechanism that you could look through a little slit and see an image on the other side. And if you spun it around, it would look like it
Yes.
was moving because you're looking through one hole. So
Oh.
this is very cinematic.
I
of
love
you
that.
to do.
Thank you.
Nostalgic.
I appreciate that. Did that with Adobe.
Dude, of course you did.
True
You
story.
didn't.
I did it.
You did?
Yeah, of course.
My
Bro,
man.
come on. You don't know. Listen, here's the funny thing is like there's so many. I like it because like people don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
Photoshop, Illustrator, Final Cut, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mike Capaldi.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nerdish.
Yeah.
Also, but the
Yeah.
people don't realize that. Like he's so good at coding and
Love that.
Shopify and all that stuff, but it's not something that we, you know what I mean?
You don't
Like, it's
display
a-
it to the
yeah,
world.
it's
But
a- it's
we
a little
should.
bit-
Like that's like. By the way, that's how people pivot out of finding their way out of
dude.
when your body doesn't do what you want it to do anymore.
You go on Glassy's site, he's fucking built that whole site.
Killed it.
Wow.
It's insane.
That's
I,
great.
I love that.
I love to
kind
hear
of
that.
shit.
I love to hear
I'll
that.
call up Mike Mo to help me out with like our website stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, "Oh, let me
Yeah.
log in real quick. Oh, you code some stuff and boom, done."
Isn't that
so
that's the best thing is when you have enough friends who do different shit than you do and you can get advice from someone, you can support someone. You can kind of, I need to figure this out. Like in the heyday with the Adobe work that I was doing, like it was amazing. You would just, I want to figure this out. And there's like some software engineer who's super smart and nerdy. Oh, this is what you do.
The best thing though nowadays is the social media Discord. Yeah. Discord is that we have a huge community on there, and I'll reach out and be like, hey, is there an audio? And be like, I got 18 years of audio right here, and it's like cool. Like I'm like, it's right there, and we have such a fucking fabulous community that they want to just help out in any way they can.
I mean, those communities are
amazing.
That is another result of the pandemic, is that there's incredible communities that have popped up in unexpected places.
Totally.
Yeah. We're on some Discord servers for some stuff that my kids love. And
it's cool.
You literally can get questions. We were like on an Animal Crossing Discord for one of the Twitch streamers that we follow. And it's like, we're trying to figure something out. And like, we comment on their Twitch stream. So they knew that it was a family with kids. And they're like, here's all these Nook miles. They were like giving us items that we were looking for in the game.
Crazy.
And they were like so happy to be generous and do that. I was like, and then I'd like, before was hating on Twitch, and then now I was like, I get it. Like, I get it. I don't need to love some of the stuff on there that is not to be loved, but like some of that stuff where, these are people that aren't comfortable being out in front of other people.
Yeah. But you know what? Those are the communities that I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of the communities that are willing to give, whether it's information or, virtual stuff or whatever. It's like, I think that's so awesome.
Yeah. And you are.
Yes.
And they feel good about helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always nice, man.
Totally.
Anyway.
Thank you guys.
Bro. Jacob Rosenberg, thank you. Check out his Instagram, check out his Twitch channel, check out his Discord, check out what other platforms are you on?
I am on Instagram.
You don't stream on Twitch?
No. I'm on Instagram, and I'm working on some stuff that,
TikTok?
No. Leave that to my daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, like, I did, what is the do? Well, like,
you're way more in the know than we are.
That's the kids.
The kids for days.
Yeah. All you do is see you out. Do you have all the dances?
I mean, that's the only one I know.
Oh, what? I don't know.
With the Macarena.
It's like, it's like you're saying
questions about yourself,
Hey,
boom, boom. I don't know.
Macarena. Kelly nailed it, dude.
Is that the Macarena?
I don't know.
It's not the Macarena.
Hey, Macarena.
Remember when that came out?
Oh, dude.
They were doing that on cruise ships and all kinds of shit.
Like, what is that about?
I don't know, but I really was like, when that came out, I was like, why?
Right.
What?
Right.
Like, and it was like popular.
Yeah.
Hey,
It was like,
right? But I think it's because it was so easy to do.
It's the easiest.
Like, once you figured it out, and a lot of dance moves are not easy if you're not.
It was relatable to everyone
inclined.
that can't dance.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.